Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 56. So, today we have Pork Chop XJ, who you may on Instagram. His actual name is Brad. I had to ask him that. We're probably going to be calling him Pork Chop the whole time. So he's actually got a pretty interesting rig behind him right now as we are watching him and his rig. And he's a member of the Trailtrash group, and as we sort of talked about before we even started, you're one of the guys in the background, which we are always the cooler guys. They're always doing the crazier stuff, and your rig looks pretty fucking sick. So I think we'll jump right into, have you built this thing since you bought it? Is it your first rig? How'd you get into all this and get to where you are now?
And who are you?
Yeah. So I'm Brad Prater. I live in Tennessee, where there's off-road parks like every 30 minutes away from you. That's pretty cool. I got my first Jeep when I was in high school. I got a Cherokee, and like every other high school kid, I was in kind of to the mud thing, and quickly realized that was dumb. Hydrolocked one engine, put in another Jeep, or got another Jeep, put a new engine in it. And then just kind of daily drove it for a while, and I'd, still hit mud holes like an idiot from time to time. And then finally I needed a more reliable daily driver. So the Jeep went bye-bye. It was built on, I say built, short arms, 31s, 3.5-inch lift, just your ordinary run-of-the-mill XJ. So I ended up getting a truck, and then I got out of Jeeps for probably 3 years or so. And then I bought my current rig that I have now. It was pretty much stock. I call it a rescue, like a lot of XJs are. No. It was in some pretty poor shape. Like, people had shimmed the axle to fix the leafs or the U-joint angles or the drive shaft angles. They had shimmed it the wrong direction, so it slung the drive shaft out of it. I put it on my trailer in 4-wheel drive, or front-wheel drive, really. Yep. So it was on some like super hard 35-inch tires and some steel wheels, short arms as well.
Yep. And
I just wanted something I could take out and wheel. I had a reliable daily that could tow it wherever I wanted to. So I just wanted something I could take out and wheel, and really wheel, like no mud, that sort of thing. And did a few things to it, put a new set of tires on it, fixed the drive shaft problem, and took it out to Adventure Off-Road Park. And a lot of people hear about Adventure Off-Road Park and how rough it is, and most of the things that you hear are true. And
I excited for that.
Yeah. The very first trail I hit, I grenaded a front axle shaft.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah, like destroyed.
Cody status.
Yeah. So like brand new Jeep to me. I'd had it maybe 2 months.
Yep, that sounds about right. Looking at you, Cody.
First off, it's been a while since I've snapped a shaft, but it's been a while since I've really wheeled too, so I guess that goes hand in hand. But it was, yes, at one point it was pretty much a shaft, a run. But I've only broken one shaft. It was always because I threw those fucking caps. And whenever I did the cap covers, I've had very little problem. So, but
the reason that I'm looking at you is because we put that locker in. You were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And then the next trip, you threw the cap like clean out of the axle.
Oh yeah.
I honestly thought you were talking about the two fucking rear pinion yokes in one day.
Okay.
Impressive.
That was oh my gosh, we've heard that story a million times, but I'll tell you, Brad, really quick. I reused leaf spring U-bolts, and they were for an 825 instead of the 35 that was under my Jeep. So I fucked up, and the tube size for an 825 is bigger than the 35, so it gave it plenty of room, and the centering pin had snapped, so the axle literally was just wrapping everywhere, and it was just fucked. It was bad.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, I learned my lesson, and thank God to Luke and Graham, we have now
36 IROCs.
Those things sucked, but they worked in very specific situations. Other than that, they sucked ass. I hated those fucking things.
The IROC is, or at least my spare IROC, always came in handy when I needed it. I can't. I've got no complaints about the spare. Would I run them full time? Probably not. But just having that spare was unkillable. I just ran this thing at like, I don't even know how much air was in it. I just ran it as it was. Stiff as hell. I'd slam it into rocks. It didn't care. I've never. That is the cleanest rim I have, I think, because that tire is so stiff. It doesn't actually let it touch the rim and beat the rim in. So it's it's a reliable tire at least. I don't know. It's no good, but
I wonder if the reason I like my Generals so much is because I went from the IROCs to the Generals, so it was just like culture shock. But
That is exactly what it is.
That's
I
That has to
don't
be
know,
it.
dude. Those
at the same
Generals
time, those
didn't
Generals
work.
are at least we're around where we are. They're a pretty decent tire. They
Yeah,
don't
but
clear-
Cody has way too big of a hard on for them.
Oh, he does.
Okay.
They don't clear mud very well, and then when you're out
No, they don't.
on the East Coast, really anywhere, clearing mud's kind of important. But on dry rocks, they're amazing. They work
Well, yeah, anything's
Yeah.
amazing on dry rocks for me.
Well, we might as well go into the
Okay,
tire.
we're getting called out here. I guess
So we might as well go into
You're
the
not
tire
wrong.
question since we're on the tire
Oh,
topic.
true.
What's your favorite DOT tire and what's your most hated DOT tire? Because if we say stickies, everybody's just gonna jerk off one brand because but whatever, they're all fucking stickies. Who cares? Give me a little rundown.
Worst tire, my least favorite tire, is a pretty easy cut and dry. It's the Patagonia. I don't know why people like that thing.
Everyone that we
But-
ask.
I don't understand why so many people run them. It
They're
seems
cheap.
like, I don't. I guess that's what it is. But when you can spend just a little bit more money and get something a little bit more aggressive and not made for a daily driver,
Yep.
it's kind of a no-brainer. And then, as far as my favorite DOT, I really liked. I used to have Coopers. I had 40-inch Coopers on this.
Mhm.
I really liked that tire. They were very soft. The sidewalls were soft, but they were still robust enough that they wouldn't get punctured. And those things would wrap up on a rock and launch you like no other. I mean, they worked really good.
I've heard good things. I've never run a set. I'd love to.
Same.
I love Cooper tires on my tow rig. I don't think I will ever be switching from the AT3s. But on the note of the Patagonias, I bought a set when they first came out because they were $290 a piece. And
40?
they had rave reviews for a 40. So I was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'll try them.
All those people were paid for those reviews, I'm sure.
They had to.
They're all using them out west. Yes, on a warm, dry rock. I'm sure they're perfect. Just like every
yeah,
other
wheel
time.
Sand Hollow all the time. Yeah, Sand Hollow, they work great.
The running joke for the few trips that I made on them is hopefully they'll break in while I'm bouncing
waiting
rev
for 'em to break
limiter,
in.
like, trying
Yeah.
like hell to make it up, and then I put my Nitto trail grapplers on and the same obstacles were one shots.
Those things still need to break in, though. They're still stiff.
What, the pads or the
The
grapplers? Yeah, they are a stiffer tire. I feel like the sidewalls are pretty tough on those. I have seen them get golf ball size holes in the side of them, but I don't know. I'm not completely sold on Nittos. I know some people love them. I've wheeled with them a lot, not on my rig itself, but I've wheeled with other people that have them, and they don't really excite me, really.
Yeah, nothing
They
about.
just don't.
They don't. It's not like they get any crazy traction. I haven't
No.
seen one ever. I've seen Luke blowing off the bead, but nothing. You've never sliced one, have you?
Also, when it comes to that one blow off the bead, I'm allowed to earn that blow off the bead because that blowing off
No,
the
what about
bead and tacoing the rim saved my ass.
No, but what about the? I'm thinking of the one we had to swap at Harris Mountain.
Oh, that wasn't even the tire. I cut the valve stem.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I knew it
The
was something
one
stupid.
time I blew one off the bead was that time that I got the picture of me getting fucking airborne on the rev limiter trying to get up
Yeah, we've got a video.
Crawler
You, like,
Ridge.
you
Nope. There we Harris Mountain. We blew a bead at
Harris
Harris Mountain.
Mountain, I blew the bead, but I blew the bead because I had cut the valve stem, so the
Yeah.
tire had 0 air pressure.
Oh yeah. Fuck, you're right. I forgot about that. I thought you blew the bead. My bad.
No, that was when I was running those Alcoas, and the valve stems kept getting pinched against the rim and snapping off.
Yep.
On the new Super Duty rims, I haven't blown a valve stem yet. I've tacoed a rim, like it's physically bent, and I've got a video of it going down the road wobbling, but otherwise it's okay.
But
All right.
moving on. Tell us a little bit more about the shit box. What kind of got it to this point? Was it just all of a sudden you were like, fuck it, here's the credit card and let's buy some parts? Did you go with the
What is
4460
this point?
life? Yeah. Well, let them get to it.
So after that same weekend at AOP where I tore up a front shaft, broke a front shaft, I drove back down to the parking lot, not with no clue of what could possibly happen with driving with a broken axle shaft with the U-joints possibly binding.
Yep.
Nothing happened, but I drove all the way down and it didn't break. But went back down there, started cruising around, found someone that had some spare Danny 30 shafts because everyone carries those with them. Bought those shafts, wheeled all weekend, did not break another shaft, but it started happening immediately. I learned that my non-driving style did not really get along with the Dana 30.
Yeah.
It's because I was blowing through shafts. I mean, it was not every weekend, but about every other weekend there was a shaft being broken. So it was maybe like that next winter. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna skip chromolysis because I feel like I ought to start breaking ring gears. So I did. I actually bought a 44 and a 60 out of a 78 F-150 or something like that. Got it home, instant buyer's regret. So I did what any normal person would do. I sold them to my brother. So he bought them. He never did anything with them, thankfully. But I ended up finding a Super Duty 60. I got an 04 Super Duty 60 and a 14 bolt out of a late model Chevy. And I built those and put 40-inch Coopers on it, and everything was going good at first. My biggest thing was I was still on leaf springs in the rear, and with a traction bar or without a traction bar, I was smoking rear drive shafts. And I had such crazy wheel hop. I was bouncing the rear end off the ground like a couple feet in the air whenever I would hit a ledge.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
Who does that sound like?
Me?
Yep.
So I put a traction bar on. Traction bar worked for a while. It was just traction bars are weird. They work, but they're kind of weird. Just the way they do weird things to the body and your traction and stuff.
Yeah. See, I've never ran without a traction bar, so I don't have any frame of reference. I've always run with one, but I know what you're talking about. It does.
They're just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really a way to explain it. They just do weird things. Like that, they work. They do a great job of what they do, and that's preventing axle wrap. But
Yeah, my leaves have. I killed after a year, even with the traction bar, like a 5-year-old set of rough country leaves that had been beat hard, and this new set I've had in for like 2 years, and it's they're fine. They're wearing great, and I haven't been nice to them, so it works. But as you said, it just does weird things.
Cody can really attest to this, and Kish can attest to this. But you can tell when I was driving my Cherokee pissed because it would pick up one side of the body. I forget which side because of how long ago it was. But it would just like throw the whole body over every time I would slam shift it going down the road. And then when I was wheeling, it would do the same thing if I was really trying to get it. I think it would pick up the driver's side really hard.
yeah.
And
If you put a traction bar on the driver's side, the body roll from acceleration will want to pick up the driver's side. And then when you put a traction bar on there, that just makes it even worse. It wants to lift the driver's side even harder. So if you take off,
happening.
It makes it super weird.
Yeah.
I put mine on the passenger side, and what would happen is if you just gunned it, the whole back end of the Jeep would just pick straight up. It was
Graham
super
does
weird.
that.
Yeah.
Because
I know
mine's on the
that-
passenger side. So the proper way to do it, but yeah, the way it unloads the rear is just very different.
Yeah.
That's odd. I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's a countering force, so it's just going to force the Jeep upwards.
Yep.
But that is
There's
very
nowhere
interesting.
for it to go, so it just pivots on its pivot point. So
Interesting.
I think
Yeah.
that they're a required modification if you go to a 35 or bigger and you go to bigger than a 44 axle, just because the level of force that you're putting into those leaf springs on a Cherokee, they just don't seem happy.
the trade-offs are worth it because you won't be buying new Leafs every year or whenever you break them, which could be more than every year. So,
Colin?
well, that
He has a traction bar. He's
Yeah,
just
he
an
does.
asshole to his Jeep.
It's just stupid. But anyway,
You're
you don't have a traction
confused.
bar anymore, I don't think. It doesn't look like you do.
No traction bar anymore. What actually finally, I was blowing through main leafs. I was stretching the eyelets on those because I had so much. I know this sounds like everyone's always talking about how much flex they have. I had too much flex in the rear, and I was stretching. I was stretching the eyelets on the main leafs whenever I would drop it down. I could have limit strapped it, but
Yeah,
That's
who
lame.
limits-
I was trying to save. Why would I try to save leaf springs? I mean, come on,
Exactly.
whatever. I knew what I was going to do.
They go where
So-
they go, and
Yeah.
that's what it is, you know?
Yeah. So eventually, whenever I got to this point, I had a vision of what I wanted. I was just kind of doing what would get me by. And then really I started to learn a lot, and knew where I wanted to be. And riding at Windrock will get you this way because you have to drive so fast if you're going to do anything.
Mm.
I needed up travel. I needed a lot of it, or at least a lot of it for a trail rig.
Yep.
And so I ordered Radflow coilovers, 14s all around, and linked the back, and just started cutting body out of the way until the tires would go up high enough and not destroy themselves.
Yep.
And that made the biggest difference. I was able to go as fast as I really cared to in a tin can with a little bit of a cage around it. And that made a huge difference in my wheeling style. I wasn't blowing through main leafs or anything like that. I was just going wheeling then. I still had a 4.0, had an AX15 at the time, and I put a 241 in it out of a Rubicon.
Okay.
And I was having the time of my life in that thing, and it was doing great. It was extremely reliable, until I decided to LS swap it. I LS swapped it over the spring, like where kind of like spring wheeling season was over. So like when it starts to get hot down here in Tennessee. So like June, I tore the Jeep down and pulled the engine out, put a 5.3 in it, with a cam, turbo 400, still kept my Rubicon transfer case. And I'm 3 runs into it now, and everything's doing pretty good. I did blow, absolutely destroyed a front E-locker.
I was noticing that your diff is open, and now it's going to be one of my questions of what happened.
Mine too.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can actually see right here. Here's my
Oh, look at
broken
that.
E-locker right there. But yeah, the E-locker, it survived 3 trips with the LS pushing it, and it shit out the spider gears on it and destroyed a ring gear, everything all at the same time. The whole thing is done.
That sickening crunch that just goes on a couple seconds longer than you wanted it to.
I didn't even know. We had hit a couple trails at AOP that night, and because everyone got down there that night, like around 8 o'clock at night, and AOP does not care. You can go out there and night ride until 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to. There's basically no rules. So we go out there. We're
Like
hitting
Harlan.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like Harlan. I've never wheeled Harlan, but I've hered about it.
That's basically how it was.
Yeah.
was bad.
Yeah. But we get into Trail 41. It's like the kind of just to break you into the black trails. It's a couple hard sections you can't bypass, a real big rock garden area, and then you have the big ledges kind of in the middle of it. And I gave it a pretty good beat down. I had the headers blowing like I always do. Everything was good. Went to the next trail. That Dwight actually broke a 14-bolt shaft on that trail, the same trail I was talking about. We went to another trail. Dwight broke again. And I one-shotted up this pretty tough section on it. And later on that night, we had just been up there hanging out and stuff. Went back down because, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, time to go to bed. And went to hit like a little fun trail just on the way out. And no front tires were pulling at all because there was 0 spider gears in this front dip at the time. So packed it up, went back down to camp and went to bed. And the next morning pulled the diff cover off, and it was done. It was completely done. It was kind of sickening because I've had such a reliable trail rig for so long. And then all I do is just sprinkle a little horsepower on it, and it just starts going to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of Yukon goodies in the mail from my dealer.
Keeping the selectable? You're going to do another?
No, I was on the fence of doing a spool or going with a grizzly. But as far as I can tell, I haven't really seen hardly any failures of a grizzly. So I figured I'd go with a grizzly.
Locker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Full case auto locker.
Yep.
Why not just weld it?
Because he
For
doesn't have the
multiple
stock
reasons.
spider gears anymore. I'm
He
guessing.
doesn't have stock spider gears, doesn't have a stock carrier. When you weld a carrier, the casting is now compromised, and then you end up with a situation like mine where you snap the carrier in half because it's compromised because you've been welding on it, and that's the weakest point. So there's many reasons why to just put a spool in or a Detroit versus welding your carrier when you get into
Unless you have
Fair enough.
Yeah.
True.
If you have a 14 bolt, it's pretty easy to do a orb attraction inside those, and they're usually good.
Got
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Sterling 10.5 that's welded, and I laid 1/2-inch plates into there, and Jeremy Downs, who's been on this podcast a few times, set up the ring and pinion and welded it for me. That axle's been stupidly reliable, but I'm just worried about doing a gram and splitting the carrier straight in half.
You can check it. Like mine was not. It definitely didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just a one day I went and split it in half. What probably happened is when whoever welded it, whether that was you or whether you welded it, yeah. So when you welded it, what happened was it definitely cracked, and that crack created the stress point that then extended over the 4 or 5 years I've had it, and you've had it, and then it broke in half, and that's just that's how it goes. That's all I can think as to why it would break there and not anywhere else.
The only other
the center
thing,
pin.
Yep.
Yeah.
it looked like it
Below
cracked.
the center pin, like near the base. I mean, the center pin
In
was
between the ring gear and the center pin on the bottom.
blew like
Okay.
a chunk of the ends, the two ends that go into the base of the carrier are they basically just one side blew off completely and the other side sheared in this low V shape towards the ring gear. It was a weird break.
The only other thing that I have to add to that is you started doing front digs and then it blew.
And it had no fluid in it. That didn't help.
It was fine. I don't think that was the problem. I think
No, it's
I
because I
it
got
had to
traction.
be, but-
It had no traction, and then I heated them up, and then I hit it, and I got traction, and it just blew it up. That's right there. I had it. If it hadn't blown up, I would have gone straight up the hill.
Well, I guess we'll just never know.
We won't, because it blew up.
God damn Dana 50.
Yep.
That was such a good axle.
50.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a piece of shit.
No, you can't use good axle and Dana 50 in the same
No,
sentence.
no.
Can. It got
No.
4 years of abuse on 37s with a couple of blown axle shafts.
The
That's
only
why-
credit, I'll give it is it didn't break any of the weak points that everybody always points out. I never broke the pinion in half, and I never broke an inner inner shafts. And I think maybe it was you that actually commented on that post that I did. But yeah, I purposely ran the stubs or the crappy mile marker hubs, so those would
That's
always
the
blow
key.
up first. I still blew up the outer stubs because if the mile marker didn't break right or it didn't put it in the right position, it was actually strong enough to hold it, and it would just shear the inner shaft, and then I'd end up with a mess. That happened twice. I never had it rip the U-joints out, but it would crack the caps if it wasn't old enough. After it'd been in there for a while, they'd crack and spit them out, and that would kill an axle shaft. If it
All
didn't,
right, so I've got another point. Compared to Colin's axle setup, that axle setup ran circles around it.
oh yeah,
Yours was far more
50
reliable.
If you have a 44 in front of you and a 50 in front of you, even though the 50 is bigger and dumber, it's way more reliable than the 44.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah, we watched
And it's
the
not
outer
blow away.
the outer stuff being stronger is all that matters. Like they still blow up, but you're just blowing stock 60 stuff at that point. So now that I'm building a 60, I've already dealt with all the stock 60 gremlins, so I'm just gonna bypass all of them because I don't want to deal with them. So yeah.
And
Think
Brad,
about it.
for reference, Colin is notorious for getting randomly pissed, dropping the hammer, and blowing a 44 shaft clean out of the rig, like U-joint intact, axle shaft sheared off on
Or
both
both.
sides.
At the top of what?
And then ripping his ball joints off.
That's the best. That's the best part about blowing shafts is when them ball joints say, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
Definitely makes it exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's a pain in the ass. He needs to carry a ball joint kit. I'm tired of waiting an hour for him to go get ball joints and the tool and everything else.
And then
Gotta carry a
fucking
set of ball
somebody in the
joints and the tool
meantime.
if he's keeping that thing.
Worst part about that is I literally loaded my ball joint press in the truck and left right before that happened.
Jesus,
Last
what a
time.
guy.
Well, wouldn't he still would have had to go get ball joints? He needs to carry a set on him because this isn't the first time.
Or the
Just
last time.
Definitely not the last time if he keeps using it. Anyways,
Ironically,
Colin.
over the last 2 years that I've known Colin, I've never actually seen him blow a shaft.
Really? What?
No,
He's
he had-
never
he had
blown a
pretty good
shaft
stretch.
while I
He
was
had a
out
pretty good
wheeling with
stretch.
him.
But anyways, nobody wants to talk about 44s or 50s. What do you got for the front axle there? I see full hydro on it.
Yeah, it is a 04 Dana 60. You know,
Okay.
the one that everyone says not to run. I'm still running it.
I run.
Yeah,
Wait,
I've had.
why do people say not to run those?
because you
Because-
don't have factory 35 spline outers.
That's basically the only thing, and you can't fit big bells or 1550s in it.
Yep.
That's really that's the only reason. It uses the same ball joints as an 0560, so that's pretty much a mute point. But what mine is an 0460. It is going to have a grizzly locker, and it will have a 10-inch ring gear in it. I can't remember which one.
Did you get the Spicer big or the Spicer? What do they call it? The big pinion kit.
I did not do the big pinion. It's still going to be a 29 spline pinion, but it is going to be the 10-inch gear, like the ring gear.
Yep.
I can't remember if I did the Dana gear set or if I did a Nitro gear set. My brother, he's an East Coast dealer, so he just kind of took care of everything for me.
Hey, we might have to spend some money.
Hey, he can make it happen.
Yeah. Sorry.
So from there out, it does have an Artec truss on it, full hydro PSC.
Is that a full
Promos.
no, sorry to cut you off. I'm about to go into all of that on mine. So
Yeah.
are you running a 2.5 inch or a 2 3/4 ram?
That's a great question. I can't remember. It
But
works.
it's just a PSC kit. You just got the whole.
No,
or you
I
running
actually
different
ordered.
pieces here and there.
I ordered most of my stuff from Chad Bartley with Hired Gun
Okay.
Off Road.
And does he piece
he-
it together a little differently?
He specs out his own orbitals from China.
Okay.
I hope he doesn't want me. I don't know if he wants me to say China or not, but that's where they come from. Along with most other orbitals that you get other than PSC, you can get Chinese-made orbitals from PSC, but most of them are made in America, or at least not China.
Is
Do
it
I
a
ever-
stealth-
I
is
feel
it
like
a
I should
stealth-
add.
Shut up. Is
I was
this
going to say, to add Donald Trump saying China every time he says China. Yeah.
China.
Is it a self-centering orbital? 3-turn?
It is.
4-turn?
I think
Sorry,
I'm around
this is-
3
I'm
turns.
like knee deep in this stuff, so I've got all the
Yeah.
questions on it.
Yeah, I think it is a self-centering. I think they call it a load reactive orbital. It doesn't really self-center because you really have to have a good caster angle for that.
Yep.
And my caster angle is not good. I have it set
Why?
for pinion angle
Why?
because my links are bent, bro.
Easy. God damn it.
No, I'd rather not blow through U joints, and I drive it to go get beer, and I occasionally drive it to the Dollar General up the road.
So, stupid question. Before I go into my China rant, do you ever get your balls busted about that?
About what?
Your Jeep on the road. Like,
No.
awesome.
No, actually, the last time I took it out, I drove it. I had just done some work on it, and it didn't even have a back hatch on it with tags on it, and I didn't even get pulled over.
That's amazing. I love Tennessee.
Tennessee's the best.
place ever.
Yeah.
But on the note of that, the Eaton orbitals might say made in China on them, but the guts are made here and the housing is made here. It's shipped over there, assembled, and sent back. Just for future reference.
Why don't they just have some poor guy here do it? That just doesn't
Yeah, I'm
make
sure it
Because
can be
the guys
hard.
out there are cheaper.
money?
Money.
It's cheaper to ship it over there and have it assembled and sent back after powder coating than it is to get it made here, assembled here, and powder coated here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure they get assembled for like a nickel or something like that.
Probably something dumb.
And then when you ship a whole container with 10,000 of them in there, I'm sure it probably works itself out.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yep.
small. You can fit a lot of them in one of those shipping
Yeah,
containers.
a whole lot. It's pretty heavy, but you can fit a lot of them in there.
All right, cool. I won't bust you on any more of the full hydro stuff. I think I got what I needed out of that.
Yeah, the full hydro stuff has worked great for me. The only thing he didn't get for me was hydraulic lines. I'm running field serviceable hydraulic lines, which I also know is kind of a hot topic in the off-road world because some people don't like them.
Who cares?
I've had great luck out of them. I haven't busted a single one.
Yeah.
I ran the PSC full serviceables on Ducky, and I had zero issues with them, except for when I was a dumbass and didn't put a wrench on them when I first assembled it. So,
That'll do it.
Yeah.
yeah, I
I've
was
had-
a whole
I've
ass dumbass. So,
I've had good luck with mine, and I actually ran hydraulic shop lines before, and the issue I had with those ones is the ends, and I'm sure I could have asked for different ends, but at the time, the ends they gave me were like they're NPT fittings. I ended up with this weird, it wasn't a ton of fittings, but right, it was like a 90-degree
Adapters.
fitting with some adapter, and that's no more reliable than a field replaceable with a nice AN6 on it that's already there. All you're doing is you I don't know. I'd like to hear somebody's opinion on, or somebody who's had a bad experience with the field serviceable ones. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, I'd like to. I've heard of people blowing them off, but mine have been running for a while and hadn't blown a single one off at all. I've broken lines from trauma from running into rocks, but I've not actually destroyed a line from fatigue or pressure or anything like that.
I know two people that have blown the lines, but it's on a full buggy and it runs like, because it's a smaller buggy chassis, think something along the lines of like the moon buggy style. It runs right next to their exhaust, so they're superheating their fluid. So, it wouldn't surprise me if that line got a little gooey.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Circumstances, it all depends.
Yep. So, with your LS, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what went into that?
Really, it's just a 5.3 truck motor. I tore it down because it was a pretty high mileage one. I tore it down, all new bearings and seals, put a Brian Tooley stage 2 cam in it, just for a little bump in power. LS6 intake and turbo 400, but using some of the parts that are out there and available for an XJ and an LS series engine really made the swap as far as positioning really easy. I did things kind of my way with some stuff, and I loomed the factory harness into the LS harness, so it is all one unit now. That kind of took some time, gutting the factory harness and then adding the LS harness into it and routing it away. I wasn't really going for a factory look, but I wanted it to look at least kind of clean and not just like a junkyard LS swap. Mm-hmm. And it turned out really nice. Good fuse box from like Current Electric or something like that. Everything's done good. Good fans, good radiator. I'm using a generic radiator, but it's an all aluminum. It's like a 19 by 26 2-row aluminum radiator with some really big fans on it. It refuses to overheat, which is awesome. Because I had a 4.0 that would refuse to overheat. Never would. And then I was like, I'm not.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, I'll be damned if I put an LS in this thing and it overheats all the time. And so far, I haven't wheeled in the dead of summer yet. I mean, I'm pretty close to it, but not the dead middle of summer. And the thing runs like 190 rolling down the trail, maybe 195 down the road.
That's insane.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I was pretty lucky, but I spent big money on fans. I think that's the biggest thing was Spall fans. Spall fans, I think, are the key. You're going to pay for them, but I think it's the ease in your mind as far as not having to worry about a fan shitting itself out on the middle of a trail.
Yeah,
and then having more than one fan, I think, is also pretty nice too. Because I have
if one does, at least you have airflow with the other, right?
And exactly. And most of the time, if I'm just cruising trails, it's only one fan running. The other fan rarely cuts on. When I'm beaten down, that second one cuts on because I'm using however many horse pressures I got. I'm using as much of them as I can. Because I'm revving the thing to like 6,700 RPM. I'm sure it's falling off.
Just sustained,
yeah. Oh yeah, sustained.
The reason that I'm asking so many questions about that is I'm looking at doing a 4.8 NV 4500 down the road with like a Holley Terminator setup, and the more info I can get on that, the better, because I'm on 4-liter number 4 or 5 in this Jeep.
Yeah, well, I've heard you talk about the 4.8, but I really kind of wonder, like, especially with an MV, you're going to need some low-end torque, and that's where the 4.8 is. That's where it is really lacking. Like, I would have probably myself at least go with 5.3 or even possibly a 6-liter with an MV, because you're going to be off idle. Just barely off idle so much with those engines or with that transmission.
So hear me out on this. Yeah. The NV that I'm looking at has a 6.5 to 1 first gear.
Yeah,
my
that's cool.
4.0 has, with the AX15, a 381. So that's almost a double reduction in my first gear. Right. Add in an Atlas behind that, and I don't think that that's going to be a concern. With a 4.3 Atlas and a 6.5 to 1 first, that's a really low first gear. You're right. That thing out.
Yep, that's exactly what I was saying. Is it will be revved anytime you need even just a smidge of wheel speed. You will be revving that engine, but at the same time, if you can. But yeah, I agree. But if you could put it in first gear and just let that thing idle up a trail, I mean, sometimes that's cool too. It's not really my style, but ain't nothing wrong with that.
You can ask Graham, Cody, or Richie. My throttle pedal, when I'm in a bad mood, has 2 positions: on and off.
Yep.
I think it was on an obstacle called Straight Face. We watched a 4-liter die in about a quarter of a second. I just got pissed, whomped it, and it started ticking afterwards. And the ticking was a cracked crankshaft.
Oh, just pour some Lucas in it. It'll be good.
That was 2 4-liters ago.
But I've heard you say before that you want to go with 4A because it doesn't have enough power to break anything. Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Power to break everything.
It doesn't. I mean, they have plenty of power. Dwight, he's got a 4.8 in his YJ, and he smoked a 14-bolt shaft when we were at AOP.
So when I say not enough power to break anything, I'm not exactly talking about the ring and pinions or the axles. I'm talking about splitting a crankshaft in a 4.0 manner like I've done.
Right.
I've never seen a 4.8 where it's blown the crankshaft in 2 pieces and eaten the centering bearing. I've had a 4-liter do that, and that's why I'm so anti 4-liter.
Have you seen that happen on any other LS pattern engine?
I've seen split cranks on 6.0s that have been boosted.
Yeah. Well.
But
you throw 11, 12 PSI to anything, it's going to probably shit something out.
Well, I'm hoping that when I throw 11 to 12 PSI at the new tow rig, it doesn't care. That would be a problem.
Quick thing, do I sound fine?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Sorry, I was gone for a few seconds there. So, let's say you didn't go with an LS and you just want to do something different than a 4.0, like if you want to get a little zesty with it, what would you have done?
Oh, me?
Yeah, I mean, you're the only guy here with a cool LS. We still have name 4 liters.
Oh, true. Yeah. Y'all still have 4 liters.
Yeah.
There's a work truck that at work that has a 5.7 Hemi in it. And that thing, it's a single cab long bed, and the thing gets down for what it is. I don't know what kind of gearing it has in it, if it has like 410s, because it's 2,500. But the thing gets down, and I was pretty sold on doing a Hemi swap there for a little while. Then I was like, nah, we're going to put LS in this thing because all the information out there is so easily and readily available. I know that's why people don't like LSs, because they're easy, but fuck off. That's why they're cool.
There's nothing wrong with a cookie cutter. You know it's going to work. Especially on a motor swap on a trail rig that you're just trying to make reliable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's nothing worse than being at the top of a fucking mountain with your motor that now no longer runs that isn't a common swap because you want to be different. That doesn't help.
Exactly. Hey, who's got a Hemi starter around here?
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you can say, hey, who's got a LS starter around here? There's going to be some people pop out
Somebody
from behind
might
the tree
have
going
one.
like, hey, I got one right here.
Yep.
And like another note on that is that's another reason that I'm pissed with the 4-liter is because mine won't fucking stay reliable.
Well, okay.
You want something that's like 4 point something?
You could go with the Barra. That's a 4-liter, and it's probably way cooler than a Jeep 4-liter.
No, I'm just saying my 4-liter will not stay reliable. I just put an ignition coil and a CPS in it to try and hopefully make it so it'll run when it gets hot. Because having to wait 2 hours after your engine hits 200 degrees is bullshit.
Yeah, I had that same problem once. It was a crank sensor on mine. It would refuse to start if it saw any kind of work and it was above operating temperature, it would refuse to start until it cooled off. I'd have to pop the hood and just let it cool off for a minute, and then it would fire up like normal.
Nothing happened. Normal. Happy go lucky.
Yeah. It was super. As soon as it would crank over and start, actually, if you look back at some bleeping Jeep videos, you'll see where I was having CPS issues, and that's what it was. I didn't know at the time. I'd put like plug wires and button, rotor, and cap. I did a bunch of stuff, ignition coil, and there was one time I was at AOP just for the day, just to go out there for the day, and I know y'all don't really get to do that because you have to drive like 12 hours to go wheeling and stuff.
No, not in Massachusetts.
I shit you not. The wheeling in New England is second to none.
Yeah,
I got a really far drive to go wheeling.
Shut up. He goes into his backyard and he has cool trails.
Hits the trail. No, it's actually not too bad.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
But yeah, like I had problems that day. I was at AOP, but I had bought a Mopar, like brand new Mopar crank sensor, and I was like, "We're going to find out today." So I went up there, beat the shit out of the Jeep, started having issues, and drove back down the mountain as soon as it started up again. Changed the CPS on the trailer, and then went up there with the sole purpose of beating the shit out of it to get it as hot as I possibly could, which my 4.0 was at like 215 or something dumb like that. And it was flawless after that. I was pretty excited, but obviously I wasn't too excited because I put an LS in it. But yeah, that's what it was a crank sensor. It gave me issues for probably a year. I mean, real pain in the dick, but
Those
good
are the
now.
worst ones, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my selling points. Whenever I sold the engine, I unbolted the crank sensor from the transmission because I didn't know who was going to be using it. And I was like, hey, this is like a $75 part. I'm selling this engine for like $400. You're getting a brand new, like it may have like 30 hours of runtime on it. You're getting a brand new crank sensor with this thing. Like it's basically new. This is like a $75 part. This ain't no whatever they sell at O'Reilly's. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you got to do that though. I've heard that a lot of Mopar stuff does it like it'll work for a little bit, but if you don't go with genuine Mopar, sometimes the sensors get all fucky, or it'll work for a little bit, or it'll send the wrong signal or mixed signals.
mhm.
Yep.
It'll pretty fucked up.
Yep.
So, just a little pro tip for everyone out there that's dealing with this. NGK made the original Chrysler product sensors, so you can buy an NGK for cheaper than you can buy the Chrysler, and it's
Really?
the
They
exact
did
same
smart
one.
plugs. They do
That's
sensors
for
too.
The crank
NGK is for
position.
the O2 sensors, though.
NGK
I know
is
that
for
for
the
sure.
crank position and the O2.
Okay.
They also did the throttle position.
Oh.
Good to
I
know.
didn't know
So
that.
save yourself a couple of bucks on that if you can get an original NGK. It works pretty damn good.
Good to know.
I've
Not
got
that
an
it matters
NGK.
for you.
No.
You gotta go to AC Delco or whatever.
Yeah, Delphi is usually my go-to now.
I ran a shit ton of parts for Delphi, and they made me a fuck ton of money. I've got nothing bad to say about Delphi.
Yeah, I've had great luck with because I've had to buy some sensors with this junkyard engine, and everything that I've replaced it with, it could have not been. It could because I don't think the people that had this engine, it was in a Suburban. The people that had it before me were not. I mean, it was a 20-year-old vehicle. They weren't really. They didn't care. So there was a few things that I had to replace sensor-wise, and went back with Delphi or GM Genuine, and no issues with them so far. Knock sensors. I bought some eBay AC Delco knock sensors, and they immediately did not work. So
Okay.
there's no knock sensors on it right now.
Knock sensors are more of a suggestion, not mandatory per se.
I mean, I don't hear it knocking, so I guess it's not.
That's
I like your style.
Yeah, you don't need knock sensors. You got two built-in ones right on the side of your head.
no
Yep.
knock. Look at that.
I know knock here.
Love knock sensors. Know all about that right now.
Yep.
Got that going on with my truck.
Off. For this reason, that just doesn't. Yours, Cody, sucks.
Mine matter.
Mine doesn't care. Cody's
So
puts it in limp mode. Oh no, it can't hear the knock.
It's bad now because I've cleared it twice, and it's now in the pending codes. Because for some reason, when you clear it once, it's happy about it, but second time, it's like, oh no, motherfucker, this is still here. So like instant checks it. So now it's like it's fine. I just can't like romp on it, or I have to use. I put 93 into it, and it liked it a little bit better. So maybe it actually has a problem, and I'm just gonna do a sensor and hope that it forgets about it. But I think there's.
Oh no,
I
the
think
knock
it was
sensor
a
so
plug.
it can adjust, right? That's got to be the point.
yeah.
It can
Supposedly,
adjust timing.
bad spark plugs can cause it to happen. And I couldn't remember the last time I did spark plugs in my truck. So,
So
or shitty
Cody,
fuel, or what's up?
on that note, I got a bad batch of fuel and with my 5.3, I did the spark plugs with the tritium, or not, what was it? The nitride plugs. Yeah,
Okay.
that was it.
The iridiums?
The iridiums, and that got rid of it.
Okay.
But I spent $190 in spark plugs.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
No,
those
I
are
bought them at the
bougie-ass spark
fucking.
plugs.
they are.
You can buy a whole 4-liter for that, dude.
Yeah, I know. Well, I bought them at Advanced Auto because I needed them that day. It wasn't a question of like, can I get them? And then I did the coil packs too, so I spent like $400 in a day. And Kate actually helped me with that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. She was coming to pick up something. She was doing something. I
Drop
remember
off.
that. Oh
You guys
yeah.
dropped off that 44.
Was that no? No, because anyways, whatever it may have been. I think that's my plan though. I'm just gonna do the knock sensors, do spark plugs, do coil packs, and just I don't know. Do it, get it done, stop pretending like it doesn't exist and actually just fucking handle it.
You know, talking about like engine knocking, my 4-liter when I still had it, just same thing with that same bleeping Jeep video. You go back and watch it. My engine was knocking like god awful on one trail, and that was the crank sensor is what it was causing that. It was bad. Like it was to the point where it did not have enough power to even pull itself up a rock. I mean, it was. You would think that it had like a 1.5 liter engine in it. It was so bad.
Holy shit! Well, mine's
was
definitely
bad.
knocking, but I think it's bearing material out of the bottom end. In mine, I have
That's cool too.
I have more flake in my oil than I do in the paint right now, and it's a Cherokee, so it's kind of fine. But yeah, but it's an 01 as well, so like it needs to come out anyways. So it should just get a 98 motor and have a good day or a good life. But yeah, I feel that it's knocks are a great time.
Knocks are cool.
Adds character. My buddy calls it the Jehovah Witness at the moment because
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my LS that I told y'all I tore the whole thing down and you did every bearing and seal in it, put brand new lifters in it. One of the lifters is bad in it. It fails to pump up when you first start it up. And by the time it gets up to like 130, 140 degrees, it pumps up itself enough that it's good, but it sounds like a freaking diesel engine at first. It's bad.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. But you don't see that on Instagram, but I'll tell you about it here.
Oh, speaking about your Instagram, I love your center console.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it gets the job done. Got cup holders, cool sticker, winter shifter, makes it happen. Aluminum makes it look cool too.
There you go. Hell
Oh,
yeah.
it looks like it holds stuff. It looks like it holds cups way better than any factory fucking cup holder.
By far. That was the whole reason, because I was still running an AX15 and I had that console in there. And that was the whole reason I was like, I'm not spilling one more beer on a trail again on the shitty console. So I like ripped that whole plastic piece. Of course, it came out in fucking pieces.
Yeah.
So I ripped that whole thing out of there, built a console, nice cup holders, gets the job done. I was super stoked about that, getting that done. And then I made it even nicer when I put my winter shifter in it and skinned it in aluminum and all that.
Mm.
I'm not a wide open designer or anything, but I like to at least act like I am sometimes.
I do have oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
So I do have a question about your spring rate, because after looking at your coil right now, you said it's a 14. Looks pretty squashed. What's your up travel? What's your spring rate?
Spring rate, I might have to look at it. I'm running about 5.5 inches of up travel.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. You might have to cut this out. Man, my bottom spring is a 250. The upper spring is a 125, which I actually think that breaks some of the cool spring rules.
Yeah,
but
you're
it
not
works
supposed to
most
go
definitely
over
does.
50 per change, but it doesn't matter. I've heard a lot of. I mean, it probably does to some extent, but
Yeah.
You just
I don't know.
notice
Everybody's got their own
rate,
opinions.
So the reasoning is because it's uncomfortable. because you notice a difference from when it goes from one to the other.
I noticed the difference. I
again,
paid for the double spring. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Finish
Yes.
your sentence. I paid for the double spring rates. I want to feel both the spring rates. I want to know what it changes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
fair.
this is a serious question for you, Graham. Did you notice the difference in the spring rates when we were riding in mine? I
No.
did not.
What is
So-
what is yours at again?
140 over 225.
Yeah, you're fine. I got 200s and 300s, and I'm going to see how it is in the front of mine when I put the coilovers in. I think it's going to be fine. The thing's a pig as it is, with
Your rig
as a
is
full
fucking
body.
heavy.
Yeah, I think it'll be perfect. I've seen people say that 300, 350 is good in a full body Cherokee. So
Yeah.
we're going to see.
Really?
It's probably going to be soft.
That seems pretty. That seems
That
pretty
seems
high
stiff
to
as
me.
hell. But
Yeah.
I mean, my rig weighs 55 now, and I'm about to put a bunch of tube in the front and add a heavier axle with more shit. So it's not going to get lighter. So
In before Graham crosses the scales at 50 fucking 8.
Yeah, I weighed mine. I weighed mine back when it still had a 4-liter in it. It had no tools in it, no beer in it. Just my standard recovery gear that I carry, and it still had a back hatch on it, and it still had quarter panel glass in it.
Mhm.
And it weighed in at like right around 50. Actually, I have the weight ticket right here. I think it was like right around 5,200 pounds.
wow.
That's
And
not
that's
bad.
with that's
Holy
with
shit.
that's with that's with half doors on it too, or those aluminum half doors. 5120 is what it weighed in at.
That's not bad
with,
at all.
with no
Holy
tools
shit.
or anything. That stuff adds that'd put you upward.
Yeah,
About
and I don't carry a ton of tools. I'll probably carry about 50-ish pounds worth of tools. Then probably like with ice and beer, it's probably like another 30, 40, 50 pounds worth of that.
Yeah.
So probably another 100 pounds on it.
Yeah.
So I'm probably, with me in it, I'm probably right around 5,500 pounds.
Shit, that ain't bad. Hey,
No, I
Richie,
wish it was lighter, but I don't really know where I could cut any weight out of it. I mean, it's pretty bare bones now.
no hood. We can take out the windshield.
Yeah, kick that thing out.
So I
Passenger
crossed the
seat.
scales with my F-250 and my trailer on at 16.5, and the truck weighs 72, and the trailer's 2. So my rig's a fat fucking pig.
Sounds like it.
But I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Richie,
how, though?
wake up, Richie.
Whoa, yo, what?
Say, ask a fucking question, you quiet fuck. Do something.
No, this is perfect because I've had a question that I've been wanting to ask since
Well,
October.
then, ask your wife for your balls back. Push some bitches out of the way and say your question.
So, Trail Trash told us to ask about the hot dog cooker.
Dude, hot dog cooker. All right. So this isn't like a super secret or anything. Like every truck driver in America probably has one of these in his semi truck.
China.
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
yeah, they're definitely. I guarantee you, they're made in China.
Okay.
But you can go to like any Pilot, Flying J, whatever. Go to the trucker section and go to like where they have like the cup holders and all that bullshit. You'll find a thing in there. It looks like a tackle box, and
Okay.
it plugs into your cigarette lighter, and it cooks food.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
kind of
It will
didn't know that, but
brown
go
up
on.
and it will brown up and sizzle hot dogs inside of it. You can cook. What it really does good at is things like in frozen burritos. It cooks the hell out of them because you can just throw it in there, like crack open the package on the frozen burrito, chunk it in there. Cooks those. I've cooked pizza rolls, hot dogs, chicken nuggets.
What?
And it's so awesome because you get up to the everyone's like on a hard trail. You get up to the top of it. Of course, everyone's sitting there standing around and watching everyone else beat on their junk. And then I go over there and I've had hot dogs cooking for like an hour. And I go over there and undo this and then start walking around going, hot dog, or taquitos. Taquitos are a really good party favor. I'm big on the taquitos. I'll start walking around with and have like taquitos and sour cream and salsa and stuff. But
Shit, man, what do you like to drink? Because it sounds like I'm going to be stealing some fucking hot dogs from you. So I might
Yeah.
as well repay it with beer.
I was expecting like a hot dog roller or something that you like are manually cooking and your buddy's holding a lighter or something.
Oh,
while you're
man,
driving,
yeah.
like- But no, is it like this little tackle box thing? Like that's
Yeah, and I wish I could show it to y'all, but whenever I was at AOP this past time and we were beating down on Trail 41, it somehow managed to fly out of the Jeep, and then one of my rear tires just proceeded to just absolutely destroy it. Yeah, and I was pretty upset about blowing up a ring and pinion and a differential, but I was really upset about my little tackle box cooker. That thing has been with me for a minute, and to see it go, I mean, it was kind of, we had to stop, say a few words for it, because there was no bringing this thing back after a 43 ran over it.
I think I would also be more mad that my hot dog cooker got run over than a
Yeah.
I think we all would.
dude. I'm getting one of these.
I didn't know they existed. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the perfect idea if we do like a gift swap for the BYB or Christmas party. I'm getting one of these for
Yes,
the gift
do it.
swap, dude. This thing would be sick. Hell
The
yeah.
best part about it is they're like $30 or something like that. They're not expensive at all.
Yeah, he's got them up, and I'm looking
Yeah.
at it, and they're like $50 max.
Oh, 40
Yeah,
Like
bucks.
the nice ones. Oh, that's a $40 one. That one looks nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Dude, I love mine.
this thing
I
actually,
loved mine.
it actually cooks food. Like
Yes.
that's sick.
The key is if you get one, you have to protect that power cord at all costs. If you end up losing that little, like the male cigarette lighter adapter,
Yep.
and you replace it with anything else, it will probably melt.
Oh, good.
So you need protect the male power adapter at all costs, because you need to. You need that factory installed power adapter. It will melt if you put an aftermarket one on there.
Good to know. That is good for all of our listeners too, who have also now heard this new trick. This thing's
Yeah.
sick. I'm so happy. Thank you,
Currently looking
Richie.
them up.
Yeah, Richie, you're the fucking man, because I'm happy that I forced you to blurt out a question, because this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I love it.
Tax
That's
I'm
box.
glad I've been sitting on this for the last month or two.
I'm so
gonna
proud of
say.
you for thinking of that, because I did not remember that at all. So
Well, it's fucking trail trash was when me and Luke were talking to them after the podcast one of the times. They're like, "Oh, you gotta ask Pork Chop about the hot dog cook."
speaking of pork chop, how did you get the name pork chop?
All right, so I live really close to Nashville, and there's a really big Jeep club up here. Well, it used to. Whenever I first got back into Jeeps, it was really big. I think it's kind of dwindled now, but it was filled with a bunch of folks that like JKs, and like their little Facebook page. They were always talking about. They're going to remain unnamed. I'm not going to drop them in there.
Yeah.
But they were always JK owners talking about, what should I name my Jeep? What do I need? Who makes stickers for the side of my hood? And I was like, we're going to put Pork Chop on this bitch. And because they're always wanting to do like super cool names and stuff like that. And
Yep.
I was like, I'm going to do something dumb. And it just kind of stuck ever since then. So it's not a super cool story, but
No,
it had good,
perfect.
it had good intentions at the time.
I love it. That's
We
awesome.
got a lot of that around here too. Is everybody's gonna name their shit? It's like, no, I have a Jeep. It's
Whoa.
just
Yeah.
Jeep. It just
Because if you name your
yeah.
if you name your Jeep Deadpool, you're like one of 50 in Nashville. So
See, I named mine
My
Don.
Jeep's name is Linda.
Oh, see, Linda doesn't even make sense. That's lame.
that's perfect. That's a perfect name. What are you talking about? It's like, damn it, Linda. Damn it, Linda.
Fucking it makes perfect sense.
Okay, what's the story then, huh?
The previous owner told me its name was Linda, and it's bad juju to change the name.
It's like a horse. Yeah. You
So when
can't do
you,
that with horses either.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
with a dog, you can do that. So, but Jeeps are different now. Horses are different.
Yeah, Jeep's
Yep.
like a
Yeah.
horse. It's got horsepower. You ride it to work. Like,
Exactly.
Jeep's berry because it looked like a blueberry that got left in the freezer far too long and got banged up. So, like, it had a white hatch on it, and it's slowly becoming a tin can. So it just looks like a blueberry that was left in the freezer for 6 months.
Your
See,
Jeep
what-
also needed a name. It needed something because your old Jeep Ducky was just
Ducky.
It needed
That's
a
the
name.
best way
Yeah.
to describe it.
I like mine being Donnie. Makes the most sense.
I don't why.
Ow.
How
So
does that
because
make
my
any
old
sense?
Jeep, I took the parts from my old Jeep for the new one, so that was the donor. So my current black Jeep would be the Donnie, and Donnie's a weird ass name, so why not Donnie?
I like that. I
See,
like that a lot.
so what?
And it's not something
Okay,
dumb
yeah,
like
that
Stormtrooper
does
stuff
actually
like
make
that.
sense.
Stormtrooper.
Oh
Let's-
god,
hold on.
I know
Let's ease
so
it back.
many
Let's
stormtroopers.
ease it back a tiny bit. We could be offending some listeners. Okay, just take a little back.
No.
Don't specifically call shit out. All right.
No, they
I do not have
own
any problems offending someone that names their Jeep Stormtrooper.
they
right.
can own
I have a
their
thing-
Jeep's name.
I have a question that kind of relates to this. Somebody, we're not gonna bring it. Whatever. Either way, somebody was making a shirt, and on the back of the shirt, it said it was like supposed to be based off of the idea of like rock and roll, whatever it was, and it was like Mud Rock Mall. So, and I told the person I would never fucking wear that shirt a day in my life because that's I'm trying to be as not inviting to everybody, but like I'm not trying to be a dickhead to people for no reason, kind of a thing. And he came back and said that if you have a Jeep with big old rims and lights and all that shit, that you don't take the term mall crawler as a derogatory way. What do you guys think? Do you think people nowadays have owned up to it and they are cool with being a mall crawler, or is that still a derogatory term?
I know a lot of people that fully admit to owning mall crawlers, and they've built their Jeep to be a mall crawler.
And they have said that themselves. They are like, I
Yeah.
have a mall crawler. All
I
right.
feel like
Just
people.
autistic and call things as I see them.
I think if they
So-
embrace it, then they embrace it, and anybody who doesn't want to be associated to that level just doesn't associate to that level. It's
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's actually I haven't seen it in a couple years, actually, now that I think of it. But there was actually a Cherokee in Torrington, Cody, that was like built through the teeth with bling bling shit. Gaudy as all fuck.
Was
But
it
the dude
that
dropped some
aqua
serious
blue one?
money. Yes.
Oh my
Fucking
god, that thing
never
was atrocious.
ever left the pavement. But
Oh,
he obsessed over it, bragged about everything done to it, and just the good dude himself was pretty cool. But I mean, he owned the whole mall crawler thing.
For
I mean,
reference points, this Jeep had Fuel 24s on it.
Oh.
On a Dana 35 with an 8.5-inch lift and every
Perfect.
possible rigid light bar that you could order.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
boy.
if there was a bolt-on kit for a bolt-on kit, he had it.
So here's one of the things. I wouldn't call it a pet peeve, but I understand that people have money and they want to do what they want to do with their money. But whenever I see a Jeep riding around town and they got very, very nice parts on it, where they've spent money on good armor, good bumpers, all that stuff, and then I see it and I'm like, I can tell there's not even a scratch on your rock slider. There's not a scratch on your diff cover. There's not a scratch on anything. It's like,
It's just for the look.
why did you spend money on like top of the shelf parts? But I understand people have their own money. They do whatever they want to, whatever makes them happy. But it's like, you literally could have bought rough country junk and
would have done the same thing.
same thing.
Yeah.
So they're doing it. I won't say they're doing it for other people, but they're doing it for themselves, I would assume. But yeah, it's a waste. I mean, because these are some like nice off-road parts that are designed for off-road, and then they put it on their Jeep with 35s. The Jeep model will remain nameless, but they'll put it on their Jeep with 35-inch tires that are all-terrains and rock out around town all day long. But hey, I'm good with whatever. Hey, you do what you want to
You're
do.
gonna spend your
I'll
money.
do what I want to do.
Yep.
I spend a lot of money, and I do something completely different. So
A lot more fun.
yeah.
That was my
It's arguably more fun. Yeah.
So the best way that I explained it to people was like I used to be into cars and shit like that. Like I have friends with bagged cars. They have all the crazy camber, all that kind of shit. And my way of explaining to them why I made the change was because you can throw all the fucking money in the world at something. All you're gonna fucking do is drive it to a fucking parking lot and stare at it. And what are you gonna do on the way? You're gonna race your friends. You're gonna get in trouble. You're driving something stupidly illegal, and you're not even doing anything cool with it. So why not throw money into something that's actually usable and to have fun? And it's legal, like it's sick. That's the best way.
questionably legal.
Wheeling?
Oh, wheeling's
And
legal, yes.
Yeah.
In
And-
the proper places.
To go one step further on that, a lot of car people do stuff, especially like in the race community. They do things to make things go faster so they can do it for less time.
Mm-hmm.
I build my junk so I can do it for longer.
Yep.
And
So-
wheel longer.
On that note, I've got the maximum amount of respect for drift cars and off-road people.
Yes.
Because
drift cars are one of a kind.
drifters, if you're a good drifter, it means that you spend a lot of laps getting good at it.
A lot of time.
If
It's not
you're-
like Know Your Drag racing or something like that. There's a lot
Yeah.
of time that goes into drifting and a lot of money. I mean, you think about tires. They'll smoke a set of tires or multiple sets of tires on a weekend.
Yep.
I mean, they're cheaper tires than what we run, but still, if you're paying $125 or $150 a tire and you smoke a set of rears in a weekend, that's a set of
Yeah.
tires gone. If you smoke two, that's $600 in a weekend. Like, I give you credit for your dedication to what you're doing.
No doubt.
That's like, the guys that I have a shit ton of respect for are like, he's a common staple. I'm sure if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard about Jamie from our Roush trip a couple years ago.
He does drift cars?
No, he doesn't do drift cars. I'm getting
Okay.
to it.
Okay.
But this dude had a set of 43 SXs with a Dana 300 that was built to the nines, and this dude would hop up on every rock ledge, disengage the rear axle, bang rev limiter for about 3 minutes, pop that rear axle into gear, and just like crawl up every
Just walk
ledge.
it. It was
What?
amazing.
He was banging rev limiter with $1,500 worth of tire on that front axle, and we watched them lose tread over that weekend. Not even joking or trying to exaggerate. This dude was like dedicated to making every hard line, and he would just sit there smoking them until they were good and fucking ripe, and then just drop it into gear and hit it as hard as he could.
Sounds like a party.
He is a party, dude.
No doubt.
And on the note of parties, how did you get affiliated with the Trail Trash guys and end up in this current podcast that you're trapped in now?
So I think the first, like mainly Jonathan, have been talking for a while, like a couple of years now, probably. And we met up for the first time at one of the Bleeping Jeep rides at Windrock, and we just talked. We actually didn't even ride together that weekend. We talked and just kind of kept in touch, and we went to Choco in Alabama and rode actually together one weekend. I think it might have been a Rockstar Garage ride. Well, the Great American Crawl. That's what it was. We went on a Great American Crawl ride with them, and man, we really hit it off. We all get along great. I feel like I fit in. They probably make fun of me all the time, but whatever. But I guess they felt like I fit in pretty good, so we've wheeled together a few more times since then, and we all just kind of jive together and make things happen. They know I like to party, and I usually make some good footage, but here lately, junk's been broke down, or someone else has been broke down in front of me, and I can't really make it on some footage, but it'll happen because I like to put on a show.
So part of the reason that I ask that is, I don't know if we talked about it on the last podcast that we did with them, but the way that we kind of met each other in passing was I was like, oh, hey, that's a Georgia plate. Oh, they're at AOP. They're at Windrock. I
Mhm.
guess they must be kind of local. And I reached out to them and asked them about wheeling in Tennessee and the area around there. And then Cody was like, yo, we should have these guys on. And he set up the whole, them coming on the podcast. And after that, it became, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I need to store my tube bender and they need a tube bender. So they can borrow my tube bender. They can hold on to the chop saw, while they're doing all the shit to their MJ and his rig. And I've got to go down there and see them soon to drop that shit off. But they seem like really nice guys, and I like your guys' level of wheeling. So it was like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're pure Southern wheeling at its finest, really. I mean, we do exactly what you see on the internet as far as Southern wheeling goes. I mean, that's what we're doing around here. We got rocks covered in mud. I mean, that's what we got, and that's what we do all the time. It's one of those things you kind of dream of a dry trail, and it just never happens. I think y'all kind of have the same thing up there in New England. But,
yeah,
you dream of a dry trail.
We get them some days.
It's happened I've been wheeling for like 5-6 years now, and it's happened like twice. So,
I vividly remember Harris Mountain is a local property that is no longer in. It hit a rough patch. I don't know if it'll come back, but every time we've gone there, it's always usually like a little soupy, right? There's trees that cover everything. It never fully dries out. But we hit it this one day in the summer, and it was just bone dry. We did everything there. Everything. And
you can hit so much stuff. Wild. It's like you just point, shoot, and everything. You feel like you're wheeling in Moab. I mean, you go from having a bang limiter up every ledge to you're just like, we'll hit this trail. And then if you have everyone's rig is in decent enough shape, you just go and you just ride trails all day long, and you'll hit hard trails and just make it happen. And that's something awesome, and it just doesn't come around very often.
Yep. I think that was the first day Cody rode passenger with me, the one that Graham's referencing.
I can't remember.
There's one ledge that I remember because it's like a solid 12-foot straight up vertical wall that we were playing on, and the rig bounced about twice on the third attempt, and then it just walked right up it. And I've never made that ledge.
The ledge to the right?
No, not that one. Cody wasn't riding with me on that one.
Are you talking about the one that we shot up to catch up to them on the bottom side of the hill?
No, I'm talking about the one where we were aiming between the trees by looking at the roof, or by looking at the top.
Yeah, that was to the right.
Not to the direct right, but it's rightward of
not over by the Wall of Death. I'm talking about the other one ledges. In that
Wall of Death.
It's near that.
Yeah, from those ledges. Yeah.
It's near that clearing, and it was that area where we met up with the ZJ and
the double step big ledge. Yes, you were talking about to the right of that. Yes.
Yeah, and we did the section in the trees where we had the land between them. That was fucking
with the
wild.
ZJ guy. Yeah, it was so dry that day.
I didn't even attempt those because I've watched Buggy's had issues with those, and then I forget who went first, if it was you or someone else. But I watched you walk, and I was like, I'm fucking going up that if he's walking that. Like,
and then Colin blew a 44 shaft right at the top of it.
Oh my god!
Did he?
Yeah.
I thought he blew. No, he blew the tire in the creek.
No,
which I had also never
tire in the creek. This was before that when he blew the shaft, because he blew a shaft that day right as he made it up to the top of the axle or the obstacle. Okay. Because he had so much traction that when the tire slammed down from coming up it blew the 760 clean apart. He was able to salvage the shaft and everything, but it just grenaded the U-joint.
Jeez.
That's surprising. You don't normally hear about 760s breaking and the shaft staying intact at the same time. Usually the shaft will break before a 760 will.
Well, it's not really a lottery for him. It's just, he's done it so many times, it's bound to
just happens.
One of the the shaft will survive one of the
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah,
It just happens.
it's like what? Yeah, it's like how many times could you actually pull your clothes out of the dryer and just one time you pull them out of the dryer and they're already folded? That was
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
For reference, he's also the kid that we were talking about earlier, where at Roush he was getting rowdy on Shoot the Moon, and instead of breaking the U-joint stayed intact, and it spit the whole section with the ears clean out of the axle, with the U-joint intact in the ears, and broken shafts on both sides. So,
What? I don't remember that.
yeah,
That's
So stupid.
the time that we went to Roush with Jamie and all that, when he
Yeah,
broke
I know the
first
time. I
day.
just didn't realize that's what happened.
No, it just dropped it. Like,
Wow.
clean dropped the U-joint and everything out of the axle. Broke the stub, broke the fucking axle shaft, and everything else in there was fine. He probably could have saved that U-joint if he wanted to. Yeah. So, favorite off-road park in the area?
I feel like I've kind of name dropped them quite a bit. Adventure Off Road Park. It's in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. They're probably my number one. There are
Why?
other. So literally, unload your rig off the trailer, hit the main trail, and you're immediately on hard enough trails to break your junk on if you want to, and it's immediately. And you can just sit there and hit trail after trail after trail after trail all day long. So if you want to go out and hard wheel all day long,
And
that's
not
the
have to
place
deal
to
with
do
the
it.
bullshit of driving 2 hours up a mountain to get to the rocks. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But which also on the flip side of that, I also really like Windrock too. Windrock does have rules involved. If you like to partake in road sodas or trail sodas or whatever you want to call them, so you have to be mindful of that. But you also have to drive. You're going to have to drive up pavement one, and depending on what you go up there and hit, you're going to have to drive in between trails at some point. There is kind of a cluster of trails up there where you're going to hit some good stuff. You got your Cadillac, school bus, rail trail, Rattle Rock, all that. You're going to hit those. Those are all clustered pretty close together. But if you want to branch out beyond that, there's going to be a lot of trail riding, which I have nothing against trail riding. I like to trail ride.
It's kind of honestly, for us, it's a culture shock because around here, everything is like Adventure Off-Road Park, like you described. It's you literally pull up and you're there. Like, this is the property, go hit the granite rocks that are, just absolutely insane and destroy your shit instantly.
Well,
too.
I think the best iteration of that, to pull Kish back into this conversation because he shut the fuck up
Sorry.
and not said anything,
Yeah, where are you at?
would be Kish's property, because you unload off of the trailer and literally you drive 20 feet into the woods and you've got 3 different ways that you can go, and one of the ways leads you to a red trail where we watched like competition grade buggies fuck themselves up.
But then
Yeah,
one day we
that was a
walked
great
it.
day.
Then one day we all walked it. It was insane.
And then you go the other way and you can go to the back of his property, which is like not that far, and be putting your rig on its side if you're driving like an idiot. And it's great. The first
It is
time,
always a good time having people over.
yeah, the first time Morgan ever got close to rolling was at his property. I was getting pissy with it and just hitting stuff hard, and I ended up bouncing up a ledge, and I hit a tree, and my tire crawled about 3 foot up the damn tree, while the rear tire is like 2 foot down a rock ledge.
Well, was that the back ledges?
That was at the back ledges.
Okay.
I got out of the Jeep, and I was like, don't tell her how bad that was. Because it's good when you can feel it in one shoulder strap and not the other one.
Yep. Been there. I can't mention those 2 parks without mentioning at least one more. And that is, I don't know, have y'all ever heard of Ricky Berry?
No.
He's one of the marketing guys for RCV. he has his ride. Actually, I don't know what in podcast land when this is going to be airing, but this weekend, let's see, it's the 24th day. Today's Wednesday. The 26th, like Friday, Saturday is RBD at Hawk Pride. Hawk Pride Off Road is in Alabama. It's in Tuscumbia, and it is also another park that's very similar in style as far as not a lot of trail riding, but a lot of obstacles. And it's
How far
a
is
great
that
park.
from AOP?
It's kind of more into the meat of Alabama, kind of more like central Alabama. Trying to think what town it is that it goes into, or you have to go through to get to it. But it's farther west than where you are in Alabama. So if you were to be, remember we talked about like Choco is like 2 hours or something for you, or hour and a half or something.
2 hours.
This would probably be like 3. So
still perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
For example, for me, when I was living in New England, to get to some of the parks was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So if it's within 3, it's reasonable for a day trip for me.
Yeah. And Hog Pride is a great park. It's where you're getting to the part of Alabama where there's no longer limestone and you're getting more into sandstone. So it doesn't get parts of it get super dusty. Like if you're all actual mountain part of it, it's not dusty. But it's sandstone. So there's not like a obnoxious amount of dust and a lot of traction if it's dry. But you have to hit that in the middle of the summer for that to happen. So you'll also be, 95-degree weather in the middle of the day to do it. So, but it's a great park. Really like that. Those are my big 3. You have Windrock, AOP, Hawk Pride. There's others. There's one that closed down last year. We've been getting teased with the reopening of it, called Golden Mountain. It's one of the big ones out there. It used to be a huge buggy park, and the Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association used to put on a ride there every year. And as of right now, that's not happening. But it was about 45 minutes from my house, which kind of sucks, but is what it is.
So
they get closed down because of like reasons that could have been prevented, or just
no. It was an old man and woman that owned the park, and
that sucks. So it's
old man died.
Yep.
God rest his soul. I can't remember what his name is. I'm sure he was a nice guy. Wife obviously was in possession of this entire park. She had sons and daughters. She's still alive as far as that I know, but they put it up for sale. And as the story goes, someone bought it. It was either brothers or cousins that bought it. And this park is an absolute gold mine, really. I mean, it's called Gold Mountain, but it really is a gold mine because they have like bumper boats. There's a dirt racing track. This place is loaded for like a good time. And the brothers or cousins could not see eye to eye, is my understanding of it. And as far as I know, the thing is still closed. No one can ride on it. Trails.
Sucks.
I mean, I think it's like 300 acres worth of trails, and no one can ride on it right now.
Damn. That sucks.
Yep. And it's a great park. Hard trails, like good trails. I mean, the Southern Four-Wheel Drive Association has been putting on a ride there for like 10 or 15 years. I mean, it's crazy. So that was kind of upsetting.
So on a more upbeat note, where are we popping my Tennessee wheel and cherry? Wow. Fuck, I can't even talk tonight.
Well, you already.
I think we need it. Yeah. I think we need to pop a cherry at AOP.
Ooh.
Sounds good to me. Around March this year? Or this coming year?
Yeah, I'll probably be good for March.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to actually, because that's part of the draw to moving here is you've got Choco, AOP, Windrock, throwing it back to Trail Trash because they're not that far from me. You got 5131 or whatever it is.
5313.
5313.
Got Beasley's Knob.
and all those are kind of local, but I want to get back into it in a manner where I'm actually like getting back in the saddle, because the only spot I'm going to end up actually wheeling this year, it sounds like, is Harlan. And Harlan was cool, but my rig was a shitbag.
Understandable. It happens. Another plus to Windrock is you have actual Windrock Park that is, private land, and then also pretty much attached to that is also public land called Royal Blue. Royal Blue. It's owned by the TWRA, so it's technically public land. You could buy a permit off of your phone and go and ride that. And there's an area of that called the Sand Mines. There's been a few YouTube channels that have featured it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen videos of this, yeah.
Yeah, Bleeping Jeep's done it. Flex Rocks and Rollovers has done it. It's a super cool place, and it's like nothing but sand once you get up to the top of it, all sandstone. It's nuts. It really is. I mean, there's some crazy stuff out there, and the traction is unbelievable. And that's kind of goes against what Tennessee wheeling is, but that is available here, and it's attached to Windrock. You can ride from the Windrock Park General Store and go to the sand mines. But it'll take you an hour and a half to get there riding trails.
Jesus.
But it can be done.
Yeah,
So
I definitely saw
a week off to go to Windrock.
soon. Let's do
Whenever
it.
you guys want to, I'll be buying a house around February or March. So we'll also have a spot where if you guys want to crash before we go to Windrock, we can get there.
Like I need to get my tons and cage done soon, huh? Because I
Yeah.
definitely and tires. Yeesh. Gotta get that shit
rock the
popping.
tons with 35s.
No.
Yeah,
Absolutely
15
not.
side, one
You could
side.
beat it like a redheaded stepchild that never would break. It'd be awesome.
All I'm
Just
gonna
dip out on
say,
That would be
everything.
so
Dip out on
fucking
everything.
funny.
Oh, jeez.
Super shape
was
kit.
one of the dudes I used to follow on Pirate on his daily, he put a 14 bolt and a 60 out of a Super Duty with 35s just for his daily, and I thought that was the funniest shit ever because he shaved the shit out of everything.
So it wouldn't hit a speed bump or something. I mean, what?
Yeah, basically.
Jeez.
People talk about 14 bolts being rock anchors. I don't have that. Mine's not shaved. I shaved the factory lip off of it. It's still technically a 14 bolt, and I don't have that much of a problem with it.
Yeah, well,
I think it's like a quarter-inch difference than a Sterling. I mean, it's not that
It's
massive
way
of a
more
difference.
than that, if I'm being honest, because if you do the 5-gallon challenge, or the 5-gallon pail challenge, mine barely clears. You can't do that with a 14 bolt, but just barely.
That is the most
Like, drive over
one-sided
a four-
thing that I've
but how
ever
much
heard
air
in my
is out of your
entire life.
tires?
Yeah, what
It
true
fills
size
like
is your
30.
tires? What size your rims? Like that changes a whole perspective.
I mean,
I'm on
yeah.
40s with probably
True size though.
6
What's
PSI
the
in there.
true inches of your tire from middle of hub to the ground?
When I first measured them, when I bought them, 38.75.
From the hub to the ground.
No, from the total top. And they were like 17.5 to the center.
17 is
Hub
still.
to the
I mean, that's
ground.
a 5-gallon bucket's more than I think. What 2 inches?
Well, that doesn't count. You got jack stands under the front.
For reference, for the people that can't see that, he was polite enough to put a 5-gallon pail next to his 60.
Axle tube. But so based off of what I have seen, I think it's a small difference, but I believe it's also wider. I believe the bottom of a 14 bolt is wider, the point. So I think that might also come into play, is that there's more surface area for a rock to catch compared to
Well, the
10.5
14
or
volt, or the
10.5.
10.5 is pretty flat on the bottom, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you're comparing a 10.5 to a 14 bolt, the realistic savings as far as the bottom goes is about 1.5 inches with a flatter bottom. If you're talking about a fully shaved out 14 bolt where you've cut off the bottom section and welded in the plate, it's about the same. But you're correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but you're on 43s. So 43s right there
Yeah,
definitely
you're not gonna have a
help
problem.
out.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
I know a guy that's running 43 SXs on a 9, and that right there is a retarded amount of clearance. But
Yeah,
You also have a small
that's
tail
nuts.
underneath.
One at a
But you
time.
have to build the hell out of it to make it last. Because you need to deck out a 9. Really, you do. People say you don't. You do. You need nodular iron center section. You need it all. You need it all to hold up to that size of a tire.
Yep.
he's got that all. He's got the Yukon gear set in there. It's spooled, and it's a rough stuff modular housing with 60
But-
outers.
What's
And-
also cool is you can spend $150 on a 14 bolt.
Yep.
And just put some tires on it.
Yep.
And that's
And
part
smash
of
it
the
on
reason
rocks,
that I
and it's
like
fine.
the.
Yeah, and smash it on rocks.
That's part of the reason I like the 14 bolt and I like the 10.5 so much is you literally have to do nothing other than a ring and pinion in them, and you can go and abuse them.
The 14
Yep.
bolt's easier to ring and pinion than a 10.5. 10.5's
Yeah,
hard, but
Oh, yeah.
way
Yeah.
easier on a 14 bolt.
14 bolt, first time, I'll give you, if you've never done a ring and pinion before, I'll give you like 2 hours. Second time, if you are setting up a ring and pinion in a 14 bolt and it takes you more than an hour, you might have rode a short bus. I don't know, but that's my opinion.
So my only
so
comment on that is I rode the short bus, and it takes
That's cool,
me an hour and
right?
20 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of Windex on that short bus, wasn't there?
So, clarify,
No, he just licks the windows.
it takes it like
I have a
football.
helmet to. I have a helmet to stop me from licking the windows.
It's got a
Oh, I
mouth.
thought y'all wore the cones. I thought
Oh no,
No, that was my short bus.
This is 2021. We have helmets to provide some form of dignity. The cones are considered inappropriate.
So just as something to I looked it up, the difference, just the diff cover alone is a 1/4 inch bigger on the 14 bolt, and the width total is about 7/8. So take that into consideration. Obviously, that's just a diff cover, but that is like total front side of the face.
Yeah.
So
That's
But,
the front side of the case. It doesn't take into effect the offset of the diff cover.
no,
But,
I just
yeah,
looked up. This was the
realistically-
best answer I got.
Yep.
Sorry.
Realistically, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. The 14 bolt is a little bit tougher. The Sterling comes with discs from the factory, and it's the right pattern with 35 spline
My-
axle shafts.
My 14 bolt had discs.
Mine
Yeah,
did
but the
too.
Super Duty disc brakes are so nice when they're not fucking seizing up.
Speaking of which, what's the swap over for the booster and the master for Cherokee to make them like set up for a 1-ton setup?
Dodge Ram Van 2500 setup.
That's it.
Is,
Yeah, like a 98 or 99.
Yep.
98,
I
99
used an
Dodge Ram
01.
van.
A
Bolts.
buddy of
That's
mine
fine.
was
That'll probably work too.
hitting me up asking about doing a WJ swap, and I told him to not bother because in reality, a proper steering setup, normal brakes will be enough, and you don't really need to go more. But I did let him know that I thought it was not Astro Van. I thought it was the Chevy booster, but I'll make sure to correct
the Chevy
myself.
booster would work, but the actual lever is too long, or the piston arm is too long, I think.
Okay.
So,
Probably have to
Dodge
shave it
Van
down.
is shorter.
Okay. Cool.
I forget the exact year, but it's either 01 or 02 came with disc brakes on the 2500 Van series. So you don't even have to swap anything. It's literally a plug and play input for a rear disc brake setup.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I
that
can look.
in my
I
rig.
ordered.
I reminded him that to make sure that if he bleeds the master to do it right or have somebody do it if he's not comfortable, because that's something that I never did and I still chase the problems and demons from it. It is a pain in
So-
the ass.
This is another setup tip that sounds really stupid, but you go down to Advanced Auto and you buy a set of 8-inch brake lines. You bend them to the point where they go inside of the master fill cap
Yep.
below the fluid level, and it makes bleeding that master cylinder take you about 5 minutes.
So I have the proper kit, but I don't think like I have like it has the plastic lines, everything loops back through, does all the yin yang giddy body blah blah blah. But I think I did it wrong. And in all honesty, I think somewhere in there however I tightened it or whatever, I think air still got in there, and I'm just too much of a lazy piece of shit to fix it because they work. So
They lock up.
Cody, you gotta stop being so hard on yourself, bud.
thank you, Rich.
So-
Damn.
With my setup, I've got what I call toe brakes, meaning that like if you just use your big toe on it with that master cylinder setup and bleeding it through the shitbag manner that I did of just bending those AutoZone or Advanced Auto lines over themselves, you can stop it with your big toe with no effort. The only time I run into problems is in low range when I'm being an idiot.
Well, that's because it's pushing through the brakes.
I can actually give a part number for a master cylinder that will work if you have a late model booster. And this is a Dorman part number.
Yep.
Is MC
Yep.
390516.
Perfect.
At the time I purchased it from rockauto.com, if you have a 5% discount code, you might get it cheaper. It was $22.34.
That ain't
that-
bad at all.
No. And I
Is that
literally,
before or after tax.
I don't know.
People need to know if you're going this far.
I don't know if they. Actually, take that back. They do. They do charge ground shipping and tax. So out the window or whatever you want to call it. It was $33.28, and this was August 6th of 2020, and this literally bolted up to my, I say late model XJ booster, but it's a 96, so it's kind of a late model for the XJ series, because I don't think they changed the booster after that year.
No, I don't.
But
think
it bolted up, no modification, and the only
Yeah, it was. Sorry. I'm autistic, so it's 96 and a half. If it's above
Be mad at you.
96 and a half,
Jacob's gonna
it's
be
the
real mad.
same model year through 01.
Why is he going to be
Or
bad?
same booster.
He's interjecting when the guest
No,
is
but
talking.
this is making sense. It's fine. I've
Would
got a
you
buddy,
guys-
every time Luke interjects, I hear about it when I'm at the shop with him. He's like, "Yeah, so I was listening to the podcast and Luke interjected." It's like, okay, I'll remind him. To stop interjecting.
Sorry, I thought that was pertinent information this
It
time.
was.
I've
I just
been
wanted to
really,
make
really
sense.
well behaved for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
The only thing,
He's got to let the hair out a little, you know.
would you guys suggest this to somebody who is still using stock brakes, though? Is this
No.
something that
No,
I think
All
they
right.
move too much fluid for that. I think the
I'm-
Master itself moves too much fluid. I
If
think you
you're-
would have a very touchy brake pedal if you swapped to this with small calipers myself.
I mean if he wants to
If
lock him
you're-
up and skid for
Yeah, with like
Quarter
this
mile.
much brake pedal. Yeah.
If
I'm
you're
now-
if you're looking to improve your braking, the
new
WJ
radio
Master
axles under it.
Cylinder is the way to go if you have stock size or JK size brakes, or the
Yep.
Dakota Master Cylinder. Do not go to what we are talking about, because what we are talking about, like with my setup,
that's for
will
double
lock up
piston front and
40s.
rear. Big
Yeah.
brakes. You
I
can't
can
push
lock
that
up
much fluid out of the way.
40s with not a lot of effort. If you're talking about trying to push a Dana 30 caliper with that, you're going to end up blowing caliper seals. I'm not even trying to joke or sound like a dick with it. You're just going to overdo it.
All right, good to know. And I just fixed the text that I sent him because I was like, "Hey, I got the part number for you. Never mind. Don't do this.
Don't
This
use
is
that.
bad."
The WJ Master Cylinders are cheap as hell, and they work really well if you want to improve the brake pedal feel.
What
Like,
is it?
you know
Is it a late
permit-
model Jeep or an early model Jeep?
I think
Late
he's
model.
talking about Buckley.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about fuck, he literally just his name's Dirty Den Off Road on Instagram.
Yep, I
so
know of who you're talking about.
he just bought a Cherokee that literally looks just like mine. And he's been asking questions. Wicked nice kid. He's been asking just for advice on a few different things. Smart kid. He bought Clayton. Smart motherfucker right there. Bought a bunch of Clayton parts. And he listens well, so I appreciate him and I try to help him out as much as possible.
Brad, was that an okay sign or was that a thumbs down?
That was an okay.
Okay.
I'm running a Clayton cross member on my front end right now. So
Speaking of which, me and Graham like to have little gripes about this because I love mine. He hates his. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it?
It's a rock magnet. I mean, it's done me well for years. Don't get me wrong. Like
just put bigger tires on there.
It's just if I put 43s on it, I'd clear it just fine. I'm sure. The thing's dented to shit. It's never given me issues. I'm not even using the lower links like I'm supposed to, or I only have one left now. Curtis stole my other one. But
I'm sorry. Don't worry about it.
We were at Harlan, and the kid with bent links bent a link. Shockingly,
you pre-bend your links, and you wonder why they break.
I mean, both of my lowers are bent. So
you got like a 3-year time bomb on there.
Did you build them that way?
No, they are not built that way. They were built just straight.
Now,
it's a 2-inch quarter wall, and I'm thinking about the next ones I build. I'm probably going to go ahead and sleeve them with some 1.5 inches, just
go straight to aluminum.
Well,
the cost of redoing it,
I've been aluminum links too. Is the thing I've bent those.
All right. So steel with aluminum in the middle.
I like that.
There you go.
Perfect.
I do like that. And my understanding about them is as soon as the first time you hit a rock on them, they're locked together.
Yep.
And supposedly you'll never bend one. But
all right,
I'm sure with
that sounds like a challenge. I'm sure they can be bent.
Yes. Yes, because I have no problem bending 2-inch quarter wall links. But I think the length of the link has something to do with it because I have some decently short rear links. Mm-hmm. I've never bent one of those, and those would see some crazy abuse hitting some ledges and stuff.
Yep.
Never bent one of those, but my front links are fairly long, and those things look like some freaking rainbows. So,
well, I mean, how long is long here, though?
I mean, I can get out of tape. I don't know if y'all want to, but
it don't matter that much.
But I think they're crazy long.
I have a question.
No, they're probably if it's the factory Clayton. No, they're not. Are they the Clayton links, or those are probably long gone at this point?
No, that's pork chop built links.
Okay, and the front is stretched because you've got full hydro. So
they're stretched an undetermined amount.
Okay, I'd say it's probably like between 37 and 40 inches would be rough.
Yeah,
I'd guess.
No, I'd say longer.
There you go. Get a tape measure right now.
My upper itself is 39, and my lowers are 36.
What? Really?
I can imagine.
Okay, well, I shortened mine, so that's where I'm pulling 37 from.
Yeah, as you say, his are definitely bigger. But can you still hear us?
Yes.
While you're over there, did you use a Clayton rear setup for the 4-link in the rear?
That is all. I designed the rear 4-link using a 4-link calculator myself and figured it out on my own at what would be best from my research on the internet. What would work best for me, and I designed it for as smooth of a belly as I could, and that's kind of what I came up with.
All right. Well, finish measuring, and I'll ask you my next question afterwards. Timestamp. Can we put a timestamp in the
no,
channel?
Go fuck yourself. We don't need a timestamp.
All right. No, this is part of the podcast. He's been getting up and measuring shit and checking shit the whole time.
I think he thinks he's using his headset mic when he's not. I think this whole time he thought he was using that.
No, he definitely is.
No, he's not, because that's why he's so far away when he's over there, is because he's using the headset, or he's using the computer mic and not his headset mic.
I don't know.
All right.
Sounds fine.
So, the lower links on the front, if you don't count the jam nuts, not a bolt to bolt or anything like that, just the meat of the link itself is around 33 inches.
Okay.
Rear links are less than 2 feet, so they're like
shit.
around 23 inches.
Double
And they will-
triangulated rear?
Double triangulated rear. And they max out a 14-inch shock like it ain't nothing.
Wow. Now,
Mhm.
why did you, with you enjoying your front cross members so much, why did you go again? So the reason I'm asking is because
Their kits
I'm-
are expensive. That's why.
I'm getting it for a cheap price. Is it worth just doing it, or do I not just do it? That's my biggest
Just
thing.
do it.
Just do the kit. Just do the Clayton
So,
kit instead of
Cody,
building one.
This is not me going against you in any manner. How much time have you spent fabbing your own rear suspension up?
Nothing, but that's what I have a big mouth and good questions coming out of it. This is I have welders that I can talk to, and I can buy the stuff. Boom, done. Put it in, slap it, send it on its way, kick it out the dope.
I have zero clue what I just walked back into because I had to go and take a piss.
I thought you were going to say you have zero confidence in me doing that.
No, if you feel like you can build your rear suspension to
Hell
the
no.
rig,
Hell no.
if you do not feel like sitting down with a tape measure, the calculator, and all of that, the Clayton rear suspension setup is pretty dope. My rig is different from every other rig that you're going to see out there because similar
No,
to
it's
Pork
not. It's a
Chop,
cookie cutter. What are you talking about?
yeah, I know.
Bolt on shit.
Yeah.
Similar to his rear setup, I have shorter rear links. I've got 33-inch lower rear links with 38.5 uppers.
Those aren't that short.
So, and it maxes out a 14-inch coil or 14.5 coilover. I'm sorry, like it's nothing. I don't care. I'm very happy with the setup. I don't have a lot of seat time to it yet. When I have more seat time, I might have complaints. But I'm very, very happy setup with the, or very, very happy with the setup. And I know that the anti-squat numbers in the rear are around 100% in the rear with 120 up front. So I've got more of a bias towards not unloading up front and then a perfectly neutral in the rear. Because you also have to keep in mind that with your rear and your front anti-squat numbers, they invert. So if you have a lower anti-squat in the rear, it's more likely to push up into the body. If you have a higher number up front, it's more likely to suck down under load.
Yep.
I decided that sucking down under load for the front axle was better for me. And I have zero
You want it
regrets.
to push down. You
No,
rarely-
my setup does the opposite. My setup is more geared towards pulling the
Unloading?
axle into the body and not unloading. When you have it set up where it pushes
okay,
down
sorry.
more
I had
up
that
front,
backwards. Yep.
it wants to unload more, but it will search for more traction.
Mhm.
I decided that with my driving style, it made more sense to go for a higher anti-squat number up front.
Yep.
If you're not willing to sit down and figure out your anti-squat, anti-dive, and all of that, and your roll centers, the Clayton 4-link is not a bad choice. The Iron Man 4-link is not a bad choice. I have zero regrets about building my suspension to my rig.
You will, with those two kits, you will have a lower belly. And as far as I know, both of those kits have at least some ability to modify them for anti-squat. I don't know so much about anti-dive, if you can, or roll center, if you can modify those.
So that was another point that very seldom gets talked about, but my setup, because of the way that I built it, has a very, very robust anti-roll or roll center in it, if you will. It wants to keep that rear axle very straight under the body. Graham
No
might
doubt.
have experienced this, but when we
It
went
didn't
up
feel
that
like it was
ledge,
walking around.
it just wanted to stay straight, and it wanted to keep that body very straight. And because of
Yeah.
the way my front 3-link is, it was very happy when we got the nose quite steep in the air.
And what the crazy thing is too about at least roll center is you could zero it out and have the angle at 0, and it can hurt you.
Yeah.
And then the very next hill you hit, you could have some kind of crazy single triangulated, 7, 8, 9, 10 degree of roll center, and it could help you. So basically, and there's been people that have said this. I think one of the Beat Not Baby dudes has been like, hey, put the links where they'll fit and let the rig do the rest. And he's kind of true to a certain point, because sometimes it helps you, sometimes it doesn't. I think the biggest thing, if you're just doing any kind of 3-link, 4-link, anything like that, anti-squat, anti-dive, if you can dial those numbers in to something that is reasonable, that's the biggest thing where you're going to find out how your rig reacts to throttle or braking.
Yep.
And then on that point, you're absolutely correct. The roll center, on the other hand, if you can get it within 5 degrees, it's very reasonable. I was incredibly happy. I hit 2.
Yeah, 2 is great. 2 is fantastic. But you think about people that have buggies with trailing arms. Those things probably have some crazy roll centers because they have trailing arms. So they probably have all kinds of rear steer under flex, but you see those hitting all kinds of crazy hills all day long.
Yep.
So I sat down with a guy named Timmy Clark, who's been on the podcast before, and we just sat down and ran my numbers, and he's like, what do you want to use your rig for? And I'm like, it's not quite a daily, but it's not a rock buggy. And he's like, this is what you want for a roll center. You want to hit 3.5 at a minimum for your roll center. If you can get it better than that, that is fine.
Yep.
And you want to get your rear links, like the upper links, as far separated as you can, and you want to get your lower links as far out to the frame rail as you can, and try and come within that number. And if you can, you will be very happy with it. Graham and myself were in a situation where we had to back up to let buggies go past us, or not buggies, but like RZR buggies go past us, and I completely unloaded a rear coilover, and it was impossible to tell until the body started moving.
Yep. And what you said is for your run of the mill shit box. You basically said the secret sauce to it. As far as wide and as close as you can get in the center, and as long as you get the right separations at the axle and the frame, that makes everything happy. And I know people even say you do 10 times or divide the tire by 4 or whatever it is for your axle separation. Mine ain't like that.
Probably somebody's got it close, but
and that's
like a rule. That's a guideline.
Yeah, it's a general guideline. 25%.
Yeah.
So
that's what it is. 25%.
Yep.
It's really funny that you guys bring that up, because mine is way more. I've got 11.5 at the axle.
That's aggressive.
So it's incredibly aggressive. But on the other hand, you saw how my suspension worked.
It was okay.
Really good at go fast. It didn't miss a beat. It didn't care that it was going fast.
Well, your rear was fine. Your front doesn't keep up. Now you've got to do the front so it actually, then we can see how fast the rear actually can handle.
And you're not wrong. But it's also a shitbox crawler with 4 inches of up travel up front.
Yeah, I don't know, but you're going to do a lot of trail riding now. You're going to want to,
probably
drive at 20 miles an hour. You want to drive at 30, 40 miles an hour.
I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet, and I haven't committed to the level of cutting that front end up. And as we covered in the after show from the last episode, I've got the new tow rig to build. So what I do is going to be very balanced.
No, you just have to
for time frame.
Both. Just build both to the best of their you know.
I can't.
What do you mean
everything.
building a? What do you mean building a tow rig?
So,
I'll let him say.
I'll explain it real quick.
Did I just open up the rabbit hole? Is that what I did? Oh damn!
Just keep it quick, Luke.
Keeping it quick. My dad is moving out of state from Connecticut to Florida. I am buying his 400,000 mile Cummins, and I will be
Sitting on the side
restoring
of
it
the road.
because it's a major piece of my childhood. But it needs a lot of work done to it. So
you say 400,000 mile Cummins. I mean,
Shit box.
mine's an 11. I have an 11, 2011 2500 with the Cummins in it, and it has 280,000 miles. So I don't know what 400,000 miles means because I have 11 with 280.
400,000 miles
On the
is an
body in
01.
New England, that's a
Or,
lot.
sorry, 400.
That's true. Yeah, you got
I
a
think
great
he's
point
asking
because,
what year it
your-
is.
Yeah, your lifespan of your vehicles, if it makes it past like 150 without having holes in the floorboard, you're doing pretty damn good. I bought my 96 Cherokee with no rust on it anywhere, and it came from Kentucky, which is like a rust state. So,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So essentially, it's a cab corner and front fenders and a bed is what the truck needs. But after I get done with that, it's getting an S300, new head gasket, studs, and 50 horsepower injectors.
So just basic
right
diesel
on.
bro shit, and
Yeah,
Basic
diesel
diesel
bro.
bro shits. And then
put
down
some
the
forces
road,
on it.
no,
No,
down the
whatever.
road, it's
Yeah, you
getting
will.
a set of 05 plus, probably 11 plus axles because it's got the Dodge early second generation calipers on it, so they're a single piston up front. And because of the fact that I'm going to Pennsylvania with it, southern Missouri, Texas, I want to make it reliable again. And I want to make it so it can stop a Cherokee on a trailer without a problem.
No doubt.
But this killed my buggy plans. The agreement with my girlfriend about the engagement was that I got to build a buggy, and instead I get to build a tow rig.
Buggies ain't that cool. You see buggies all day long down here, and you're like, man, that's a cool buggy. And then you see some like shitbox Cherokee blast up a hill, and you're like, now that is cool. Because that dude has $3,000 in his junk, and he just hit that same buggy line because he's got big tires on his junk, and he may break immediately when he gets to the top. But that was cool.
The best compliment I have ever gotten came from Curtis Barons, and it was the first time he ever met me. He crawled under my rig and he goes, "Holy shit, that
He
is!"
said, "Oh shit, this is garbage."
No,
Pretty much.
He goes, "Holy shit, this is cheap, but I can't fault a single thing that was done here. Every single part of it is reliable."
No,
And I was
actually,
like,
except for the coil and the clutch line, which melted, and what else broke? I don't know.
this was at Roush.
Maybe
2
motors.
years ago.
The 4.0 motors aren't very reliable for you, at least.
for
No,
him.
this was at
Right,
Roush
Graham.
2
Keep
years
picking
ago.
apart.
Yeah, sorry, I had to.
Tear him down a couple notches.
I have a big question because I've been wondering, because it seems like this should not be like the blue collar off road podcast. It should be like everybody hates Curtis podcast is what it should be, because it seems like everyone talks shit about Curtis. I've never met Curtis in my life. Seems like a nice guy,
Curtis.
but it seems like everyone hates Curtis. So I actually know what, I'll tell you what. I'm going to officially change y'all's podcast name to Everybody Hates Curtis Podcast.
So that's the episode. That's the name for this episode now. Everybody
you're
hates
welcome.
Curtis. But the reason is because Curtis is probably one of the most genuine, nice people you will ever meet in your entire life.
Man,
honestly.
fuck that guy. Fuck him.
So the reason that we all shit on him is because I don't know, like if you have brothers or anything like that, the way you show endearment is by bullshitting people. You talk shit, you make fun of them because it's funny. But he also understands it and is like, all right, and he throws it back. I mean, not in a weird gay way, but like he throws the bullshit.
No, you can tie him up in a knot a little bit too. It's funny.
So, like, my whole thing with everyone shitting on Curtis is he's probably the most genuine person you will ever meet, and he will absolutely give it to you in person, and he will not give up for an entire weekend of riding your ass about minor failures. And then, like,
yeah, but then his shit will go and break, and it's the same thing back at him. So, it's
like
it's,
at the end of
all in good
Harlan,
fun.
he slapped my ass and was like, "It was nice seeing you, bro." So you have to give it to him where you can.
And his shit is really cool. His Jeep is really dope, except for it breaks all the time because he
And
never
sucks at
wheels.
driving,
But
and he never
he
wheels.
does suck at driving. That is a thing.
He takes 3 months to answer a friend request too.
Yeah. Oh, and that doesn't help. His AW4 can't even keep up with the 40 and the 42s. I don't know what's going on there. It's like it's like a rubber band holding the whole thing together or something, and never gets wheel speed. It's just bad.
It's like he put a CVT in between his 4.0 and his whatever rear axle he's got. He's got a CVT back there, and it's got rubber bands.
Yeah, it's not working right.
It's kind of CVT.
The dude will drive 12 hours without complaint about it until he gets home. The key caveat is until he gets home. And he will abuse his rig while he is there. He will pass that rig around like it's a redheaded stepchild.
I like that.
And he is...
Oh, yeah.
He is probably one of the best people I have met through wheeling that is not on the screen right now.
So to put it in perspective too, he met a guy through Instagram, invited him out to Roush when we went back in September, met him for the first time that day, and let him drive the rig the whole entire day. Like that's the kind of guy he is.
Dude.
And he's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, I got to wheel, now I get to chill out and drink beer. This is fucking awesome.
Curtis just really doesn't like to wheel. He just likes to travel.
I mean, it's because he has lame ass friends out there. He travels all this way, and he's like, "Well, I guess I might as well bring the Jeep. Got to see the boys." So then he just brings the Jeep and lets other people drive it.
Dude, I'm all about some musical Jeeps. I will 100%. I'll hop out and I'll start running towards someone else's rig. And I'm like, "We're switching, motherfucker!" And then, depending on who it is, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Then the other people are like, "Okay, yeah."
It's funny how it is. Some people are totally fine.
Some people have no clue.
Don't like it at all.
Yeah. And so it's like, we're switching. And then I end up driving something I have no clue how to work. And the last time I got my own brother, I did that in his rig. It was the last time we went out. And come to find out, his stock shifter, he's got a ZJ. It's got like a 46 RH or something
What
weird.
year is it?
It's it's been swapped. It's got a 5.9 in it. It's a 96, but it's been 5.9 swapped, and I think it's got a
Probably a
46
RH.
I think that's what it is. But his shifter's kind of fucky, and supposedly you don't put that shifter from drive to the 1.2 because it gets lost or something. And that's the first thing I did. So I hit this one ledge and put it in first gear, and then it had all neutrals after that. And it was like, hey, this is cool because it just revs up and no matter what gear you're in. So, but he figured it out and we kept wheeling. But that's the cool thing about musical Jeeps is you figure out what kind of quirks you're having. You're like, man, I got a piece of shit. I really got to fix that because if I die, they'll never get this hunk of shit off the mountain.
So
that is. Sorry, God.
that is one of the cool things about my rig is it is the group whore.
That's always good to have. It's good to have a rental in your group. Like, hey, hop in. I'll just crawl over the console and sit in the passenger seat.
I'd say that's kind of how mine is too, is because a lot of my friends have helped me with it. Like Luke, anytime he wants to drive it, he's more than welcome to. Like I literally don't give a shit. Or I tell all of my friends too. Like if I'm leading the trail and I stop to spot somebody over it or spot somebody over it, hop in it, drive it to whatever. If you got to go up an obstacle, don't be a dumbass. You know, like it's
No,
it's
I
cool.
encourage dumbassery.
Well, I'm still on stock axles. Okay, give me a break. I can't have people just full throttle assaulting the thing. You know,
Well, that bans me from ever driving it.
that's not true.
And on another note, real quick, Curtis gets a special spot of ragging on
Oh,
because
this is everyone hates Curtis podcast. Let's not give him too much
That's
credit
what
here.
it's called. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
Um,
Don't be nice. That's the
but
rules.
some of the best times I've ever had wheeling have involved Colin Bates and Curtis Barons,
Oh,
and me
relax.
being so fucking burnt out that I'm just sitting in the passenger seat smiling as we roll and then taking a door off of the frame. He's got his doors cut so you can take them off. We put it
Yeah.
on its side, and I'm trying to kick my way out of it, and the whole fucking door launches off and lands in Colin's
Yeah, it was like a
Like this.
yeah.
Yeah,
it just picked the door went up a little bit and then just slid off the body. It was hilarious. Was not expecting that because it was the full door. The full door just fell off.
Yeah.
And I'm more
That's a
concerned
heavy ass
getting out of
door.
it.
Yeah,
didn't it hit Colin or something in the
did.
meantime too?
Colin. Yeah.
Fuck him. That's great.
Yeah. Fuck Colin.
This guy gets it, and he's never even met Colin yet.
Yeah.
By the way,
Well, him and Curtis, fuck them.
Exactly.
next year we're planning a Harlan trip already with Jason Ramsey. For what was the date on that? Like the end of
Another Harlan
October.
trip?
Yeah,
Plan a different
because
time
we
now.
only hit a quarter of the park.
Oh yeah, we got to get more people. And we got to get a house. I don't want a cabin.
Yeah.
I want the house. So the cabin was
No
cool.
more shower sex for us.
Yeah.
Or we just do Windrock.
Yeah, speaking of like long trips, especially for y'all being in New England, but Trail Trash is planning on having I don't want to say the official name because I don't know if it is official yet.
Trail Trash
but they're-
Bash. Because
it's
we
gonna
talked
be-
about that on here.
Yeah, Trail Trash Bash, the Trail Trash Beatdown, one of those names. It's undetermined, and the date is not 100% determined yet. But we're looking around the 1st of May, and it may or may not be like the weekend of May 7th. And I think we're doing AOP.
Okay.
So that is kind of a thing. We're going to have a ride, most likely going to be at AOP, most likely going to be that weekend. I don't want to speak for Jonathan and Casey, but that's kind of the weekend we've talked about. So that's probably going to happen. And most likely, if that does happen, it should happen. You'll have multiple people down there on Thursday, staying all the way through Sunday, is what I would assume. I myself, I would be down there probably Thursday afternoon, staying all the way through Sunday, probably lunch, something like that.
So I already
Put that in
talked
the
that over
calendar.
with the girlfriend, and the plan is we're gonna leave early Friday morning, like whatever time it takes to get to the park.
Good, I'll be broke by then.
An
That'll be
extra
cool.
hour and a half. And we're planning on making that for not the shakedown, but the follow-up run.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that is some excellent ASMR of how to get fucking shitty on a podcast.
I fucking love how crisp that was.
It was.
I didn't even realize that my mic was going to pick that up, but that was super cool. And it was a nice little tinkle tinkle.
I don't know. It's like you're taking a tinkle.
But yeah, that's the plan.
I'm planning on being there.
Good,
So-
good deal. Because I have to put my time off in for work by like December something. So there should be no problem for me to get off, and I will be there, rig or no rig. I will be there. Mini bike, don't matter. I will be on the trail for probably 4 days straight. So
Fuck yeah.
Just looking forward to meeting you guys and actually getting to wheel. Like
that's the place to do it.
I'm
I should
sick
have a
of
rig by
not
then.
feeling my shit.
I don't know if I'll have a tow rig.
I don't know if I'll have tons by then, but
It don't matter.
hell yeah, I'm coming. Let's go.
I'll fucking fly down if I have to.
We got, if you bring the right spare parts, well, I don't want to jinx nobody, but bring the right spare parts, we'll keep you going.
Oh yeah, I'm not. My only concern is that I will be the only small one hanging out because all of my friends
I'll
have.
just blow it up
I-
multiple times and then just beat the
Yeah.
absolute shit out of it, and then
Yep.
reevaluate your life choices when you go home, and then
Right.
do it correctly the second time.
So,
That's what I did at
here's-
Harlan.
Crazy thing, my dad, which we're actually about to put his Jeep on tons, he's actually getting these tires right here. I'm taking off my Jeep in a few months whenever mine happened to be back in stock. But he has been following us around on nearly every trail that we've hit in the Southeast on a set of 35-inch Mickeys, like Mickey MTXs or some bullshit like that. So if he can keep up with us, guarantee you can keep up with us. You're going to beat the shit out of your rig. There's no doubt about that. But you can at least keep up with us for the most part, or maybe take a bypass or two.
And
Yeah,
make
it'll-
sure- Cody, when you come down, make sure that you bring an engineering sledge with you because we're gonna have to beat your doors back open.
Perfect. Yeah, that's definitely. Or no, we'll just use the high lift in a nice fancy fashion and sketchiness. It'll be great.
It's way over our pay grade.
Yeah,
So
we'll
hammer,
just
got
have
it. I use a hatchet though. Is that cool? I use the backside mostly to fix body
Yeah.
damage. We're good. Okay, good.
Hatchet is nothing but a flathead hammer.
Exactly.
So, not for nothing because I had to get that in this podcast.
I was gonna
We're,
shit for that.
We're coming up on our cutoff for time. We talked about the Trail Trash Bash or whatever the fuck they're gonna call it. We've covered a bunch of cool shit. You know, we've established that you're gonna be coming back on whether you like it or not. Anyone else got any final thoughts on this?
No, but I'll do the wrap up if you want.
I do have one more thing to say.
All right.
All right.
So we talked about my Dana 60, and there's nothing really much more to say about my 14 bolt other than it's got sock shafts in it. The Dana 60 has had Yukon shafts in it because I broke one stub in it one time, and I was like, that shit ain't happening again. So I bought Yukon inner and outers, 35 spline, and then I bought some CTM U-joints for it. Those things, I don't want to plug them, but CTM doesn't care enough about really the industry to know. But those CTM U-joints have been a freaking killer.
I've heard good things.
They have been rocking it out underneath every single thing, every bit of horsepower and abuse I can put into them. They hold up completely. Same thing with the Yukon shafts. Those things, they hadn't been a cap spun or anything yet. Those things have been golden. Because we talked about my rig earlier, but that's one of the one things
That keeps it together.
that has withstood the test of time. That those things are freaking golden, and it's hard to mention my rig without talking about those and Adam's drive shaft too. I'm not sponsored by anybody, but Adam's drive shaft, Yukon shafts, CTM U joints. Those people have been great for me as far as the parts that they deliver because I'm a non-driver. I have no clue how to drive. I just know how to hit the gas, how to hit the brake, and the only time I hit the brake is whenever I'm going towards something that I'm going to hit. So all the other parts are just in between, and they get me to the point where I have to hit the brake, and they've done a great job.
Yep.
So,
Good to know.
where can we witness your failure to drive? What are your socials?
Pork Chop XJ or Pork Chop _XJ is my Insta. That's really about the only place you'll see me. You also will see me on the Trail Trash Instagram page. You'll see me there from time to time. I haven't made it to very many YouTube videos here lately because of just certain inconveniences that have happened, either my junk breaking or someone's junk breaking in between. me and the camera. But yeah, that's the big places you'll find me. Hopefully this spring I'm going to get out quite a bit and kind of make some things happen. I'm going to have a new rig. I say new rig. My rig's going to be a little bit better than it is now. There's going to be some changes made. Some body damage removed via ankle grinder. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
All right, and final bonus question. What should we ask Dwight to get under his skin when he comes?
Man. Ask him about the Shania Twain video.
Okay.
Because he has a hard time with that with me. And since that video just happened to go live today, it's kind of new and no one has seen it whenever this is, well, the people are going to see it by the time this airs, but it's kind of a touchy subject for him. I don't care. I'm married. Dwight's not married. I'm married. So it is what it is.
And he's referring to the recent video posted on the 24th of November on the Trail Trash Instagram, just so everybody kind of gets cued in.
Yep, that's it.
Just
But-
to pinpoint it.
But thank you guys for listening. It was awesome to have you guys here. Thank you very much to Pork Chop for coming on. If you guys had a great time listening, please feel free to comment. Make sure you guys are subscribing or following whatever you guys are listening on. Make sure you write a review. Give us a little rating. If you have any questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram. We're always there to help, even if it's unrelated to the podcast, if it's related to Jeeps, trucks, whatever. If you just need a little bit more information on something, you just don't feel like fucking Googling it, you lazy piece of shit, come ask us. We can try to help you as much as we can. And thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day. Boom.
Done.